This video contains subject matter that may be offensive and disturbing to some people. If you are the type to require a warning throughout a video or show, let this message serve as your warning. This channel discusses the harsh reality of true crime. If this warning is not sufficient for you, consider a different genre and unsubscribe from my channel immediately. Yeah, that just barely got going. Just barely got the stream going right there. It's crazy. Yes. Man, thank you up there to Shih Tzu Mom. Appreciate it. Unlike other channels, when we bring in funds, we actually do donate a ton of money to charity at the end of each month. Doing good no matter what. Okay. All right. So if you were a Megazoid channel member, you got to hear about this the other day. Okay, but in the Schnee Oberholzer case that we've talked about for, I don't know, 3 years, 2.5 years, something like that. There's just one of the craziest things you've ever heard in your life. That's all I can tell you. It's you'll what I'm going to tell you later is if you wrote it in a movie, you'd get fired because it's so stupid. Okay? Or maybe not stupid, but just so outlandish that you would go, oh, come on. All right? Okay. We're not doing politics right now. Okay? All right. You'd come back later. All right. So what we'll do is a quick sort of rundown again. For those of you who don't remember the case, this was back in January 6th, 1982 in Breckenridge, Colorado. There was 2 different abductions. The first one, a person abducted was, hold on a second. I was just reading something. Thanks, Kika. Annette Schnee, all right? And let me read up on her. I'll read the synopsis. She was last seen hitchhiking south from the town of Breckenridge, which everybody did at that time. Miss Schnee was last seen at approximately 4:45 p.m. on Wednesday, January 6, 1982. And by the way, Dennis is in the background muted. I didn't, he can unmute himself when he wants, but not right this second. Okay, so anyway, Schnee's body was located 6 months after her disappearance, and that was on July 3rd, 1982. So she was missing for a long time. So Colorado, let's see, so she was found about 20 miles south of Breckenridge. She was shot outside in a rural, isolated mountain valley area near a creek. There were no witnesses. It would have been dark, possibly snowing, and very cold. The death was due to loss of blood from a single gunshot wound to the back, which is kind of weird because both girls died from, they would have lived had, let's say, like an ambulance found them and brought them in. They bled to death. They weren't, they didn't die from, they bled to death and then exposure ends up taking them out, right? But the death was due to loss of blood from a single gunshot wound to the back and appeared to have occurred in the location where the body was found. The body was found face down in a small stream, fully clothed, but clothing in disarray. Cold weather and cold water preserved the body for an autopsy. The weapon used was possibly a .38 or a .357. No bullet was ever found. Dennis and I have talked about going out there with a, get a metal detector and look all over the place. Anyone with information regarding this case is asked to contact. Well, the case has been solved. That isn't the crazy part of the the case. But that was the Annette Schnee portion. Then we've got the hold on, Bobbie Jo Oberholzer synopsis. And so just to throw it out there, let me get to, here's the town of Breckenridge, and this is where people would generally get a hitchhike right at this section here. So Annette Schnee was hitchhiking to go home to change clothes for a job. Okay, she never made it home, so the ride home, hitchhiking to go change her clothes, she never made it home from that, and she was killed. Then the killer drove back up to Breckenridge, and Bobbie Jo Oberholzer, who was having a party for a promotion she got, some friends were there. They were supposed to give her a ride home, but they wanted to stay longer, and she didn't want to stay, so she left and went outside to go hitchhike home, even though she even told her husband, don't worry, I got a ride. He would have came and picked her up, Jeff, okay? But she wanted to hitchhike, and again went to this intersection here, picked up by the same killer, and at this, she was driven down south, and at Hoosier Pass right here, apparently there was a struggle at the parking lot here. She got out, ran right down to there's a 50-mile-an-hour sign right here, right to this area, and she was shot and killed, and she bled to death as well. Or she also died from, I can't remember if it was exposure or the gunshot wound, though, apparently didn't kill her, other than the fact that it made her bleed to death. So if somebody had come by, she probably would have survived. All right, so at the scene, at the parking lot here where the struggle was, they found an orange sock there. And then 6 months later, when they found Annette way down south here, hold on a second, it's way down here, oops, way down in this area. I don't know if if my map's not working right. I can't seem to see it. Hold on a second. Oh, it's right here. There it is. Okay, so she was found right down here. When they found her, they found she had one foot with an orange sock on it. Okay, so that means they were able to say that the other sock that matched what was on her foot was the one that was found in the parking lot over here at Hoosier Pass. So that's how they were able to connect the two cases. But anyways, the keys, Bobbie Jo Oberholzer's keys were found, or a license was found, and then Jeff was called by somebody living out on this road way out here. Let me show you. Way over in this area. That's about where her license was found. And then Jeff went out there and he found her backpack. He was driving, looking on the sides of the roads, and saw her backpack right there. And during the investigation of all of those items, they found a glove that had some blood on it. The blood type matched Bobbie Jo Oberholzer, but it turns out that years later when they tested it again, it was the same blood type, but it was from a male contributor. And that's what led to, finally, after many, many years and a complete year of genetic genealogy, they were able to determine that who the killer was. Okay, so that's where things get really crazy. And so now I'm gonna show you what me and Dennis found a long time ago. After the arrest was made, we figured out where he lived, and then we did some searches. And if you go to newspapers.com and you type in Alan Phillips, I'm going to show you this on the screen. Alan Phillips, and type it. Don't put a location in. Just say January 1982. Watch this. Oh, it's a miracle. The Boston Globe, right? You just have to say Alan Phillips, January 1982. Okay. Now listen to this crazy story right here. Watch this. Alan Phillips found himself stranded in the snowy Colorado mountains, without tire chains, So he used his pickup truck's headlights to flash an SOS that was spotted by a passenger in a jetliner thousands of feet above. Phillips, 30, a resident of Georgetown, that's where he lived, was driving home Wednesday night from Bailey and had to cross 11,665-foot Guanella Pass. His truck got stuck in snow drifts near the summit, so way up there, 20 below zero. He sat in the truck with the temperature at 20 below. Phillips heard an airplane overhead. He started flashing the headlights in the SOS signal. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. On the plane was Harold E. Bray, who was flying to San Francisco on business. Bray is sheriff in the Denver suburb. He even showed up in an article of another case we talked about the other day, of Jefferson County. He noticed the flashing lights. So this guy's sitting on an airplane, and he sees this SOS signal. He noticed the flashing lights, recognized the code, and alerted the plane's pilot, who radioed the Federal Aviation Administration. 2 nearby planes were sent to investigate, so they flew in. And then Mike Wilcox, the pilot of a Rocky Mountain Airway plane, spotted the truck and radioed the FAA. The report was forwarded to the Clearwater County Sheriff's Office, which sent out 2 vehicles to rescue Phillips. Okay, and let me. This one has a little bit more information here. This one. Let me read this one. Alan Phillips found himself stranded on the snowy Colorado mountains without tire chains, so he used his pickup truck's headlights to flash an SOS that was spotted by a passenger in a jetliner thousands of feet above. Phillips, 30, and a resident of Georgetown, Colorado, was driving home Wednesday night from Bailey, Colorado, and had to cross 11,665-foot Guanella Pass near the summit. Phillips had warm clothing and an emergency blanket to keep warm, but no tire chains. You find out how lonely it is really quick, he recalled. I thought about walking to a ski area nearby and went about 200 yards and thought, no way. This is him talking. No way. It was too cold. As he sat in the truck with the temperature at 20 below zero, wondering what to do, Phillips heard an airplane overhead, and he started flashing the headlights in the SOS signal, 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. On the plane was Harold E. Bray, a passenger flying to San Francisco on business. Bray also is the sheriff of Denver suburb area, Jefferson County. Bray noticed the lights flashing below, recognized the code, and alerted the plane pilot. The pilot radioed the FAA, which asked 2 nearby planes to investigate. Mike Wilcox, the pilot of a Rocky Mountain Airways plane, spotted the truck and radioed the FAA. The trouble report was forwarded to the Clearwater County Sheriff's Office, which sent out 2 vehicles to rescue Phillips. Okay, so that's a crazy story on its own, right? But the craziest part is he was actually on his way home from killing Annette Schnee and Bobbie Jo Oberholzer when this happened. All right, so that is the craziest thing in the world. He is now in the newspapers, amazingly not in any Colorado newspapers.com, but he has been, now they have proof that he was in the area. Okay, and he says he's from like this, and look, check this out. This is the craziness of it too. So here's Fairplay down here. This is the route he was leaving. He dumped Bobbie Jo Oberholzer's items out this way. And look at that. That's where the Guanella Pass starts, right there, right in Grant. He says he was visiting friends in Bailey here. Okay, so there's Grant. He drove over the mountain right here. And then his car broke down way up here at the summit. And then he lived right over here in Georgetown. Right there. Or that's where he lived when they arrested him, but he lived in this area. I think Georgetown is right there. Right at the end of the Guanella Pass is right there. So don't you think that's probably one of the craziest things you've ever heard in your life? All right. So, hey, Dennis, go ahead and unmute yourself now. Go ahead.
Okay, you there?
Yep, I can hear you, man.
Yeah.
So Dennis is the is a legend, man. He's just driving all around these areas and, figuring stuff out. It's crazy. So tell us.
Yeah, Treve and I made a quick trip out there. I wanted to make a lot of connections over in the Georgetown area because everything that I have been doing has been over on the Breckenridge and Hoosier Pass and Fairplay areas, everything over there. And in some of our previous trips, all the way back into September, right when they took my DNA, whenever I was a suspect. But anyway, we went to the library.
I was a little bit suspect. I thought you were a little bit suspect, too, because you were so into the case,
Yeah, I had interjected myself into the case, and then when they started the familial DNA, one of the surnames that came up was Stewart. So, so Charlie called me one morning and said that the task force wasn't going to allow him to talk to me anymore, and we weren't going to be able to get together and meet and answer a lot of my questions because my surname came up and they wanted me to take the DNA test. So he was very apologetic. He was stern, but he was very apologetic. But so we worked it out for me to drive back over to Fairplay to the Park County Sheriff's Department, and Wendy Kipple came out and took my DNA, and but then we weren't able to make any contact for several months. Treve and I were back there a couple of times doing research in the libraries and newspaper archives, and then we wound up catching COVID there and had to come back to Texas and got over that and everything. And then finally, just as I got out of the hospital, Charlie sent me a email that said DNA clear, so I knew I was clear. And then a couple of weeks later, he called me back and said they were going to have the press conference. They had the guy in jail, had busted him over in Clear Creek County, and he was living in the Dumont area. And so they picked him up. So I was clear, but he told me about the press conference, the FBI, CBI news conference that they were having. So Treve and I went back in the first week of March and got to go to the press conference and everything where they announced the killer. And of course, you had a podcast back at that time, and we talked a couple of times during that. But recently, I began to figure out this Guanella Pass thing when you and I, because you and I were figuring all this out the 2 or 3 days after the press conference. And so I began to look at once you came up with this, and we saw all of that was a UPI news story. That's why it went all across the United States. But there really wasn't anything back in Breckenridge, and so I knew there had to be. So Treve and I went back this last week, and we were going around to all the little newspapers and looking at all their archives. I was hoping to be able to find at least one newspaper from back then that had the murders, the articles about the murders in it, but then also had was hoping that I would find one that had the rescue event also. But we couldn't find them together. It's nearly like everything on the northwest side of the mountains up in Georgetown, Dumont, Idaho Springs, everything up that way, all of those newspapers show the rescue event, but don't show the murder event. And then everything on the southwest side of the mountains in Park County and Summit and Breckenridge area, all of those small town newspapers all show the murder, but don't show the rescue. So we went into Idaho Springs and met with the people for the Clear County Courant, and we found an article in there. Now, this is a totally separate article. The wording and everything is a little bit different from the UPI articles, but it also had a picture.
Now, so
Ray, I'll let you take it from there.
Oh, yeah, but here's the thing. I think you can read the article, right? You got it right there?
Okay, you want me to read?
Yeah.
Okay, here's what the article in the Current said. The SOS signal, 3 longs, 3 shorts, 3 longs, is the only bit of Morse code he knows, says Al Phillips, 30, of Georgetown, but it paid off. And it's a good thing that Jefferson County Sheriff Harold Bray knows Morse code too. Bray was flying over Guanella Pass last Wednesday night in a commercial airplane when he noticed someone flashing the distress signal below. The sheriff was on his way to tour jail facilities in California and was about 10 to 15 minutes into his flight when the cloud cover broke for a moment. When he saw some lights flashing SOS, he notified the stewardess, who in turn notified the second officer. The distress signal was confirmed by another plane flying over the area, and rescue crews started pushing up the pass out of Georgetown. Eventually, Empire Fire Chief Dave Montoya found Phillips, a fellow employee of his at the Henderson mine, trapped in his Datsun truck at the pass summit. Phillips had been heading home from visiting friends in Bailey. Normally he carries a full set of survival gear in his truck, but on this particular night he had left his tire chains behind and became stuck in a drift, which eventually reached halfway up the side of his truck. He was marooned there for several hours, but thanks to a couple of coats and some moon boots, he managed to keep warm until Bray saw his SOS and help could arrive. So that's the end of that article, and then the picture attached. Gray has that.
Yeah, I do have that picture. Hold on a second.
Now this picture, to me, is just another nail in this guy's coffin. Of course, everybody's innocent until proven guilty in a court. But here's a picture of him. This is somewhere between the 7th and the 13th. The newspaper is actually dated the 14th. So somewhere in that week, the local Clear County Courant must have had an unnamed news man go and interview him, and that was the story that he was told. And he took this picture of Phillips, and the real glaring part of that picture is that he has a left black eye. You can see that in the picture, and of course we know that Bobbie Jo had struck him in the face several times. She had to hit him a minimum of 2 times. One time to break his nose and cause him to bleed, another time to put the blood on the glove. But she may have gotten 3 or 4 blows into him, but he's definitely got a left black eye from her right fist blow to his face.
And the only places that he could really have possibly bled from are his face and his hands. It probably had, in the hands, that's just an option. But if you had gloves on, no. But, so it's either the face or the hands. But you can see right there, he's got a black left eye, and that's what she would have used because her, which hand was it that had the zip tie on it? Or that was, I can't remember.
The zip tie was on her left hand. When they're sitting in the front seat of the truck, this is my speculation, but I think what he did was he pulled up in Hoosier Pass right next to the Continental Divide sign and used that to distract her. And so when he pulled up there, she looked over at the sign, and he grabbed her left hand and got that zip tie secured. Then he held the other zip tie that was looped through. I think he held that with the intention of getting that over her right hand, but somehow in the struggle, that one got pulled too. And so once it got pulled, he can't put it on her right hand. And I think that he was hanging on to that to control her left hand and to control her, and that left her right hand free. And I think she bashed him in the nose and left eye.
So the one that's been cut That was the one that was on her hand, right?
On the
when
left.
they found her.
That was on the left,
Uh-huh.
and so they cut it to remove it.
Right. Yeah.
But the one that's the other one that's the continual loop was the one that he had intended for her right hand. But that's exactly how it looked when they found her body.
Yeah, so you can tell by looking at. Well, you can tell by looking at it. It's right now. It's too narrow to ever get a hand on that. So it was probably like he thought it maybe was on, but she was kind of like had it at the end of her fingers, and he tightened it, and oh crap, it was able to pull it out. So it was only like two, like like if you're, you try to touch all 5 of your fingers at the same time. So maybe it was something like it was on the end of her fingers right there, and he tried to tighten it after she had just slipped it off, and then it tightened it. Now he can't use it anymore because you can't unzip them or whatever the hell you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah, it happened. One of the 2 of them pulled it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Whether it was her grabbing it, trying to pull her left hand back away from him, or whether it was him pulling on that, trying to maintain control of her, because he had her and she was not going easy, and so she took her right hand and she bashed him, several times since there was no place. And I think eventually he hit him enough time that he was dazed, and that allowed. And he let go of that loop that he was holding that was intended for a right hand. I think he let go of it, and that's when she escaped the truck and ran away. And then he chased her down to the end of the parking lot, and she had cut out into the trees trying to get, some security and away from him back into the trees. But the snow was so deep there that she couldn't make any progress. So she actually turned and was coming back up towards the road, and he was right there and shot her.
Mm-hmm. Right there.
He shot her twice. He shot her from the front, so she was coming back to the road. The first one clipped the fatty part of her right hand and then clipped her right breast. And then the second shot was a little bit to the right of center mass, and went through and through between ribs. It must have clipped the breastbone because it knocked a small portion of the copper jacket off the hollow point bullet, remained in her chest cavity and was found in the autopsy. But the rest, the main slug, the lead portion of the bullet, cleared all the way through her body and is in the trees and beyond.
Yeah.
But the gun to have 2 through and through shots, that's really unusual to have both of the girls killed. And what's really unusual is that when the shots went through their bodies, it was nearly in identical locations, just to the right side of her breastbone, and the same on Annette. The only thing that was different about Annette is Annette was at a downward, according to the autopsy report, it was downward at a 25-degree angle, and it cleared between the ribs. It didn't hit any bones, so none of the bullets veered off into her body.
In her case, it just seems like she was getting away, going down the bank, and got shot in the back, and then fell into the creek.
Yeah. The actual bank, I measured that, and it's a 31.5 degree. But whenever she went down, I think he just stood right at the top. He had to hurry up and run around to her side of the car because her door was on the downhill side of the mountain into the trees. And she saw her chance to get one sock and one shoe on each foot. She got those on, and she escaped out that door. So he had to run out around the other side.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that.
He just stood at the top and shot her.
So he drove down the road and then turned around and was leaving, right?
Right, because at the end of the road, the road dead ended there 150 feet from the place where the body was found. And what the snowplows, when they cleared the road, they would push it to the snow to that dead end there, and there was a big mound of snow. So I think when he pulled in there with her, he came to that berm of snow, he made a U-turn so that he was parking back. So if any car came down the road, he could just head out as soon as he saw the headlights. And so he pulled over on that side of the road, which put her passenger side door on the side of the tree.
Right. Yeah.
And I think he had her remove her shoes and socks, and of course her jacket was off, her ski jacket was off. And then I think he got out of the truck for some reason, whether it be to use the restroom or to get something out of the back of the truck or something. But I think he got out of there, and she saw her chance, and she hurried up and put her socks and coat back on, and she took off out that door and down the hillside, and he realized that she was going down, probably could hear her. And so he goes over, and I've actually done this at night back in January on the 39th anniversary, and with the moonlight and the snow of the area, I mean, I took my gun and just pointed. It's such an easy shot. I think that the creek bed was down there about 50 feet. And 50 feet may sound like a long ways, but in the glare of the moonlight off of the snow, I mean, you really didn't need a flashlight or anything, and it would have been an easy shot. And I think he just stood there and shot her, and he knew that that she wasn't going to recover. He could tell he hit her center mass or close to it, and he just left her there. The really ironic thing is he could have just driven away and never shot her, and she would have frozen to death. It was between minus 20 and minus 30 degrees, but in the higher elevations of the passes, it was minus 30 degrees. But right here on Sacramento Creek, it was probably about minus 25 degrees. But the wind chill factor, the winds that night were 20 to 40 miles an hour with 50-mile-an-hour gusts. And so that put the wind chill factor at minus 40 to minus 73 degrees. And I'm telling you, that is so cold, because in January whenever I was there, it was the same wind conditions, the same kind of night, but at 19 degrees, not minus 19 degrees, but 19 above zero, and that wind, I could only be out of my truck for about 2 minutes. That's how cold it was.
Yeah.
And on the night this happened to her, it was nearly 50 degrees.
I've been in like one of those storage units for food where it's minus 8. You know, it feels so weird. It's just so cold. So this would be even 11 degrees.
I just can't imagine what it would have been like for these two girls on that night, because it was so cold. And of course, Bobbie at the higher elevation, at the 11,542 elevation of Hoosier Pass, it was 30 degrees below zero, and the winds in that area were causing it to be the wind chill to be about 73 below zero.
Yeah, that's right. This is where Bobbie Jo, that 50-mile-an-hour sign is pretty good. It's been there the whole time.
Right, it's about 20 feet off the side of the roadway right there, right at the sign. And that's where her memorial cross is. And, of course, there's a memorial cross down by Sacramento Creek.
There it is, right there.
Annette, too.
So they have it just a little bit past the 50-mile-an-hour sign, but it's right there. You can see it.
Yeah, you can't. I don't guess you can really see the top of the cross. It's kind of back in the trees. There's about 3 trees that have grown up right there since the murders.
Yeah, you can see almost the whole thing. You can see the little red piece of paper on it, or whatever that is. And,
yeah.
So maybe.
Yeah, actually, every time I go there, I always, the very first day I'm there, I go to the store and I buy a dozen roses, and then I take a single rose for each one of them and go put it on the memorial cross. But when Treva and I went back in March for the press conference, we bought 2 dozen roses, and we put a dozen roses on each one of the crosses for them. So.
Oh, that's nice. So maybe we can go into So tell us about your experience going around getting the newspapers and, looking for him being in there. And then finding the picture.
Okay, I don't know. We really didn't discuss this today when we were talking about it, but actually, Treva and I left early, and for 2 weeks I had been talking to people trying to find out who all that was involved in the rescue was still alive. And so I had gotten a hold of Mike Wilcox. Michael Wilcox was the pilot of the smaller Denver airlines that swooped down low to see that it was a vehicle. And of course, he radioed back to Longmont Control Center, and they contacted the FAA, who sent the help. But anyway, he was still alive. He's 71 years old, and he lives in Santa Fe. So I talked to him for about 2 weeks before, and I was a little bit worried about talking to anybody. But I was worried about going ahead and exposing this too quick and it getting out, because we were really kind of trying to keep it undercover, because we thought that law enforcement might be using it in their negotiations with Philip, trying to plea bargain the deal out and not go to trial. So we held it, for 2 months. And then whenever I went out there, I finally felt comfortable enough after talking to him a lot. He was a real trustworthy guy. And so I went out there and met with him and did an interview for about 40 minutes long. And he explained a lot about that night, but he also gave me pictures of a totally different newspaper article that was carried by a small regional Denver newspaper. It's a whole different, it's the same incident and it's similar in ways, but it gives a little bit more information. But what I did was I told him whenever I was coming out there, I said, you were involved in a rescue that I'm writing a book about. And I said, I don't want to tell you about it now, but I want to come out there and talk. And I want to, see, I want to see your face when I tell you the big story. So he told me all about flying over, and he actually was down to 14,000 feet, which was just about 2,200 feet across the pass, from the top of the pass over the vehicle. And so he flew in from the north end, the road coming in from Georgetown. He flew in over the double switchbacks right there on the north end. He flew over the switchbacks, and right there's a set of switchbacks right there. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, just tell you, so you don't need to watch
over those switchbacks.
The video's way behind, so don't worry about what's going on the video. Okay.
He flew over the switchbacks, and the headlights were facing right towards him. And the FAA, or Longmont Control, was worried about him. He wanted to go real low because there was 84% moonlight that night, and there was the clouds were completely clear, and he wanted to go down lower, and they didn't want him to go below the peak of the two mountains that he was flying between, because they were over 14,000 feet, about 14,300, something like that. But they finally allowed him, since it was so clear, to go down to the 14,000 foot level, and he saw the headlights of the truck facing right into him. So he flew over the first time, and he circled around and came the second way and dipped the front of the plane down, and he flashed his lights to Phillips, and Phillips flashed his lights back, so they knew they saw each other. And then he pulled up and was running low on gas, so he had to get back to the airport. But that's when the FAA was alerted, and they called.
It's kind of weird. It's sort of
Clear Creek,
right?
Sheriff's Department.
I think it must have been weird for Alan Phillips there, the barbarian. He was probably like man, he was in total survival mode because he must have been worried. Once they saw him, he knew, it was likely going to be the sheriff and officers coming to get him, and he knew that he was just coming back from killing 2 women. I wonder if he had any sort of fear that whole time, waiting for them to show up, and then they got there.
I kind of wondered. I've thought about exactly how he did that, and of course, if you go south from there, back at that time, there was a ski area back there, and in that one article it says that he walked 200 yards. That 200 yards would get him back to close to the edge of that tree line and the bottom of that hill where the road kind of snakes around there. I wouldn't doubt that to save his butt, he probably took his, I think he probably had a kill kit of some sort, backpack with his gun and zip ties and his other things in there. He very well could have walked that out there and hidden it, knowing that if he did get rescued, that it wouldn't be in his possession, when the police or whoever came up, the sheriff's department. He may have hidden that, somewhere along that route, and then the next day when he came back to get his truck, he could have put it back in his truck and taken it with him whenever he left to go back home the next day.
Yeah, or he just kept it in there because they're not going to search his vehicle because getting it stuck. To him, for them, they probably just thought he was a regular. They just thought he was some guy that got stuck. His story sounded plausible. Yeah, I was at a friend's house, and he's driving over there. The murder part, nobody was even talking about the murders. It was just in that area. The
thing that he didn't know, because the fastest way for him to get back to his home in Georgetown would not to become this risky way on this temperatures and to come back this way. The fastest way for him to get back home would have been to drive right back through Breckenridge, Frisco, and around I-70, and it would have been a lot faster for him to get back to his house. But he had to be thinking, I can't go back that way, because he didn't know if anybody saw his truck when he picked the girls up. Mm-hmm. So he had to be worrying, did somebody see him and now the girls are missing and the sheriff's or police departments are looking for him, and did they radio around to the area, other sheriff's departments in the area? And so he had to be worried a little bit about whether or not he had been seen, because he didn't know that.
But he also he knew what his he had the alibi with being in Bailey too. So he could have thought of that later. But if Bailey was an actual alibi that he thought of, then he'd need an explanation of why he was coming from that area. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Like the Hoosier Pass is a closer ride, but he was like dumping Bobbie Jo's items out on the way to get to the pass, and then he goes over the pass. Seems like he kind of had it all planned out like that. Like he knew he was never going to be going back through the town. I think he always planned on going over the pass. I think he knew about it. He planned it.
I do too. I think this was his plan. I even tend to believe that that's the way he came that morning. I think he came across that pass and came that way. I think because he wouldn't have known. He lived in Fairplay for a very, very short time when he first came to Colorado. So he was familiar with that Sacramento Creek area. And of course, they didn't always clear that. The only thing that was out there was one little rock quarry out there. And so they only cleared it down to that dead end. There weren't any houses. All the houses and cabins that are out there now, they weren't out there. And so they only cleared the roadway down Sacramento Creek Road every once in a while. So I think that he came over Guanella Pass, came to 285 to Fairplay, then went up Highway 9, cut down Sacramento Creek Road, went down there to the end to make sure it was cleared out, then he came back to Highway 9 and went to Breckenridge to pick up his victims. I think he had intended to bring both of them to that point. Of course, at first I think he was just gonna, he was just picking up one girl. But then when he didn't get his sexual satisfaction, since there was nothing, no sexual contact there before she got away, well, then he went back to. It was so easy, and there was practically no traffic. Well, then when he goes back for Bobbie Jo, there's even less traffic on that night. So he goes back and picks her up. And then when he pulls over in Hoosier Pass parking lot to zip tie her, it all went to hell again, and she escaped, and he shot her. Well, he was afraid to go back through Breckenridge, so he went the same way that he had come that morning. And when he says that he visited friends in Bailey and then was coming back home, that would have been the dumbest thing that he could have ever done. Because the blue portion of your map there, if he goes from Bailey up north on your blue route, that would have been by far the fastest and no risk at all to come that way back to his house. Mm-hmm. And that would have been at least 30 minutes faster.
Yeah, well, maybe, but he probably actually did have friends that lived there, though. You know what I'm wondering? I mean, it'd be kind of weird if he didn't even have friends that lived there. I kind of wonder if he went there. My thing is it was so late. It was a little earlier than I thought, though. It was more like 10-something when his car broke down, right? So the thing is right. He was driving. He may have driven up to those friends and hung out for a while, and then he drove back so that he could say, yeah, when they checked, yeah, he was here. That kind of thing. Yeah. I don't know. It's just, I'd like to know if there was friends.
That's a good possibility. And whenever you said that, in one of the other night, or on the Megazoid deal, I looked at that and I thought, hey, that's really a good idea there. But it took him so long because the south part of your red pass, up to the peak of the pass where you have your yellow pin, back in 1982, that road from Grant up to the peak of the pass was not paved. It was dirt and gravel. And so then you get, a couple of feet of snow on top of that. And in the one newspaper article, he says that the pass had been cleared. But I don't think they would have cleared that quick on that night up to that pass. They were clearing the heavy snows because that year there were record snows. And so it was 2 to 3 feet deep of snow. And so when he went up across there, when he came across that morning, there was probably just about a foot of snow on the roadway. So he probably made it across just fine. But he didn't realize how much snow that had come after that during that evening and nighttime hours. And so there was much more snow on there, and he would have had a hard time getting up that dirt and gravel road up to that peak of the pass. And I think he ran off the road right
Seems
there.
Seems like such a risky alibi to tell somebody, though. It's such a risky thing to be in the papers that I was visiting friends in Bailey. Maybe even the friends that live in Bailey would go, yeah, were you talking about us? You weren't here. So it's kind of an odd thing to make up if you didn't use that, like show up for a little bit. I mean, another thing, that would be weird too, because he wouldn't have had a lot of time, because it would have been, what was it, 8? It was probably 8:30 by the time Bobbie Jo was killed, I would think, right? It was pretty quick. Like he just drove down there.
8:30 to 9. 8:30 to 9 o'clock.
Yeah, and then he'd have to drive over here. So he drives down, starts throwing stuff out, and then to go to Bailey, he sat there and smoked a cigarette with a friend and then took off. I mean, he would only been there for a couple minutes to then be able to turn around and drive back and then get stuck up there around 10 something.
Yeah.
Because it was in the 10 o'clock hour, right? Because when was the 911 call? It was in one of those articles.
The 911 call. Are you talking about to the sheriff's department?
I think when not a 911 call, but when the let's see, the plane
the call went in. The call went in from the FAA to the Clear Creek County Sheriff's Department at 11:30, and they got up to the top between 12 and 12:30.
When did the pilot radio in, though? I thought it was earlier than that.
I've sent Mike an email today trying to clear that up. But in one of the articles, it says that he was actually up there at the top of the pass for 2 hours before they reached him. Of course, he says that that it was about 8 o'clock when he got stuck. Well, he was covering his butt because he was trying to say there wouldn't have been enough time for him to get there because Bobbie was shot at around 9 o'clock, 8:30 to 9 o'clock. So he was trying to cover his butt in two ways, with fudging on the time and with fudging on the idea of going to Bailey. In my opinion, he may have very well had friends over there, but he had a whole night to think about what he was going to say, the next day in the newspaper articles. So, he could have had friends over there. He may have called over there and said, "Hey, you cover for me," because he was very embarrassed by the situation of having to be rescued up there. So he was making up stories, I think, to cover his butt. But, it could be. We may not ever know. It just depends on what we're eventually able to find out.
Well, the thing is, I'd like to just know when when the pilot on the plane radioed down. I'm sure there's a record somewhere of that. Because that would be, I think, within 30 minutes. Because he said he got there, then he got out of his car and walked for 20 minutes, and he goes, screw this. But we don't know how long after that, when the plane flew over. It's hard to know if he's telling the truth on anything.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get that information back from Michael. And I'll also ask him if he could check in and see if he knew anybody that could see if FAA had records back then. FAA is a government entity, and so they keep very precise records. And even back 39 years ago, that there may be some kind of FAA record. So I'm going to continue to pursue that. But that would be the most accurate thing. But I know Michael would at least know when he made that second pass and he turned around and headed back to Longmont. I think that he's going to know an exact time. He's just a real exacting person. And I think he's going to know exactly what time he turned around and went back. Mm-hmm. So you can figure, if it took 15 to 30 minutes, for them to, because they're just radioing back, and it being an emergency situation, I think that all of the communications back and forth between the plane and the control towers and FAA, I think it would all have been pretty quick. I don't think it would have been something that would take an hour or two.
It's definitely going to be something where when he says, I got up there at 8, now, but it's going to, the circumstantial evidence now will show that, it could have been much later than that. And your DNA was found on the glove. I mean, he has no out. Yep. This guy has no out of this whole thing. So I just think it's he might be able to explain the when I hit the drift, my head hit something and I got a black eye. But he doesn't have an out because his DNA of blood is on her glove, and he was in the area.
Well, so I'm trying to set up 2 more interviews. One of the people involved is dead now, but I think there's still maybe two more of them living. But those interviews that I'm trying to arrange and go back and get fairly soon, along with looking at some more articles in a couple of more places. I think there's 2 more possible places where we might be able to come up with some local articles in some local newspaper archives. But if I can get interviews with those other two people, we're gonna know a lot more, because he had to get in the vehicle with them, and they took him back down to Georgetown, whether they went to the sheriff's department or took him directly to his house or whatever. They're gonna know what kind of condition he was in. Of course, this whole thing was over 200 miles that he had traveled that day during this whole ordeal, and so he was probably out of gas. And did he run out of gas, or did he have enough gas to keep starting the truck and keep warm, or did he completely run out of gas? And whenever he got into their vehicle, did he have his backpack, which would have had his zip ties and stuff in it, or did he just get in there just himself?
It's weird that that other picture that they put out, the one that it doesn't look as much like him. I mean, it looks like it probably is him, because this picture, the eyes and everything on the picture you found in the paper look just like him. The picture they put out a long time ago, his ears and everything match up, but his hair is more straight instead of that wavy look. I don't know if you can see that, but
yeah.
They said this was around the same time, but it's like, well, I don't know. I mean, his hair, it's still long here. I guess if you're certain way, you might, the conditions outside that you have your hair under might make it more curly or something. I don't know.
Yeah. If he had a hoodie like up over, and the front edges of his hair were a little bit curlier because they were hanging out of the hoodie or whatever on that day. But the picture on the left there, it looks to me like that's a little bit older.
Yeah.
I think, of course, he was in the picture on the right. We know he was about 30, but that picture to me looks more like 34 or 35, and so he probably, looked a little bit different. But back to the artist, the police artist sketch, that really, it looks a lot like him, but and he does have the beard, that's shown in there. But that artist sketch was actually from another incident that happened where some people were hitchhiking, and it was a group. There was one single girl, and then there was another group of 2 or 3, and a truck pulled up that had 2 men in it. And one of the men got out and let the single girl into the front seat between the 2 of them, and then told the other 2 or 3, if you want to ride with us, you're going to have to ride in the back of the truck. And there was a bunch of wood and stuff in the back. So they turned down the ride. And of course, you can imagine riding in the back of a truck on minus 30-degree night. And so there's no way they were going to get in the back. But then whenever they called the police and gave a tip to the police, they were thinking that Bobbie Jo was the one that got into the front of that truck. And so the artist did a sketch of one of the guy that got out of the truck and let the woman in. That's what that artist sketch is from. So it wasn't from anything to do with Alan, and of course we know for sure the woman wasn't Bobbie Jo. So that artist sketch really shouldn't even be taken into consideration.
Yeah. I've never even seen that. I don't even know. I've never seen an artist sketch associated. I don't remember, anyways, with this case, because nobody really. There was just a vehicle that somebody saw, maybe, but that wasn't even right.
Yeah, and the vehicle deal, it was everything from a truck to an El Camino to a car, and of course the psychics got involved.
Maybe he was part of it. Maybe he was part of that other case, though, that the other sketch was created from.
Yeah, but the other, the artist sketch is in some of the Breckenridge newspapers from the week following the incident, week or 2 following the incident. And then they also have it on it was in the PowerPoint presentation that Charlie showed me the first time that I went out there. But it does look like him, but and it does have the beard that's nearly identical.
Well, maybe he was involved in that other case, though. But
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You don't seem like you can hear me.
Yeah.
Maybe he was involved in the other case that they got the sketch from. Right?
You think Phillips was involved in the other deal?
Well, yeah. Well, you were saying that the sketch kind of looks like him, but it wasn't even made from the Oberholzer case. It was made from another case. So they thought maybe that was him, but maybe he was in that one too, or something.
Well, there's possibility, but of course, and another thing about that, it was further up into the middle of town. It wasn't actually out by the Hitchhiker's Corner and everything. The timing didn't work out on that portion of the story that they were making and everything. So there were just a lot of things whenever I first looked at that. It just never made sense to me. But I did go back and look at it, as soon as I got back from the press conference, where they showed these other pictures of Phillips. I went back and looked at it and everything.
Yeah.
And of course, he's in the younger picture, he doesn't have a beard. So it didn't look as much like him. But then whenever I got back this last week with this new picture of him with the black eye, I pulled that up again, and it really looks a lot like him. And
I think he's younger in the one with, I think, he's about 30 in the newspaper one, but I think he's only like 25 in the other one. I don't think the same way. I don't think he's older in that one.
Well, you seem the opposite of what I am.
Yeah, it looks sort of like a younger period before he sort of went kind of like he didn't care as much and grew out his beard and all that kind of stuff. And maybe before that, he was like I don't know if he went to college or something. They just said it was around 82, that picture on the left. But you can definitely see he's the same. Like this picture here of him at 70 years old doesn't look much like him at all in the non-beard one. His eyes,
right?
I think the picture of him at 70 does look like the picture you found in the newspaper.
Right.
The one that they put out here, he has similar ears. The mouth is a little different too. In some ways, I was looking at it like they almost got the wrong picture they're using for the young one.
His nose is much broader in the 70-year-old picture too.
And it looks a lot much more like the picture you found in the paper, the nose. So what's weird is the nose in the other one, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't look quite right in the picture on the left. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
Just but he does have the long, put a beard on him, maybe he starts looking more similar. But he has the similar long chin.
When you talk about it there and everything, who's to say after this picture was made with the longer hair and beard that he didn't go cut his hair off and cut a lot of the curls off and shave and everything, and that other picture.
Yeah, so maybe it is a little bit later, but maybe like within days, right? So, it could just be like, right. So right after that, he goes, "Ooh, I better change my look." So yeah, that could be. That'd be interesting to know what the date is on that photo on the left.
Let me tell you something else that's really, really ironic about this whole thing. Of course, right now, I'm looking at 6 or 8 other murders, in that area. We don't know anything other than these 2 murders of Bobbie Jo and Annette. But I'm looking, I'm putting the timeline together, and then I'm taking my big spreadsheet and I'm going back and forth between the 2 as to when and where he was at various points, and looking at the other murders. That spreadsheet, I originally showed it to you about a year ago, and it only had 70 cold case murders of women in the in Colorado. And now it's nearly up to 150 cold case murders. And so whenever I put his, I've got that to where I can put a serial killer, any one of a number of serial killers that I've looked at. And whenever I put their name and their date of birth, it auto-calculates through that 52 years of murders those nearly 150 murders, it calculates what age he would be at each one of those murders. And so some of those murders would have, you'd take out of the calculation because he would have been too young to commit those. But then there's about 6 or 8, some of them just right before Schnee Oberholzer, and then some of them in the years following. And I've got about 6 or 8 of those highlighted that I think he may be responsible for. But that's going to be the next thing. Are they going to get him to plea out and not go to trial, not put himself at risk of the death penalty, and then plea bargain the death penalty away if he will tell about other murders that he may have committed? Because I know, I feel in my heart that Annette wasn't his first murder, and I don't think Bobbie Jo was his last. It should have been his last, because he should have died on that night. If he hadn't gotten rescued, he would have died right there. But I think he committed murders after that, so it's a matter of tracking, all of those other murders.
I mean, 30 years old. 30 years old is kind of sort of when serial killers are starting to get their first. I mean, there are some that are younger and all that stuff, but usually the age of when they start going, it seems like it's right around early 30s, and then you start going up into your 40s, and then you start dying down a little bit in your 50s because your drive isn't the same.
The FBI statistics say that that serial killers, the beginning of their rage years, they do some things,
kill
some
animals,
rapes and other things in their. Are you there?
Yeah, like they kill animals and so forth early on.
Yeah. There's stuff that they do in their youth and everything, but usually in their 20s, but the FBI says about 27 and a half is when they really start to act out. And start to commit more murders and everything. But whenever I was first got involved in this thing, I was projecting that he would be between 23 and 33 whenever the murders were committed, and he wound up being 30. So he was right in the range, that I was saying.
So I was just thinking, when you're about 30 is about when you'd start. Yeah, I was just looking at the FBI. It said that the average serial killer's first kill is 28, so it's right around 30. But then they really start picking up, and then it sort of dies down in their 50. Right around that time. 45, 50, 50. They don't keep killing most of the time when they're 65 and 70. They don't.
All of them, once they get past 50s, they'll still kill some in the 50s and everything. But when they get into their 60s, they physically can no longer do what they have to do. So and plus their sexual drive begins to wane, and so they do commit less and less as they get older. But that still leaves a lot of years. He had 39 years, so. You would figure 30 of those, you would look at real hard in those murders in that 30 years following Bobbie Jo's murder. Look real heavy in those, and especially in the closer proximities. One thing that this guy used to his advantage, Park County is pretty big. Summit County's a little bit smaller and everything, but in Clear Creek County, there's 5 very small counties right over there all together, and Jefferson is a bigger county where Sheriff Bray came from is right next, just to the east between Clear Creek and Denver, and that's a bigger county. But when he's killing across those jurisdictional lines. Those back then, of course, the serial killers weren't understood back then, and I'm not trying to point out, anything that the detectives did wrong, because I mean, Charlie and all these people that I've dealt with and everything, they're all amazing human beings who busted their butt for 39 years, and I admire all of them, him and Wendy and everybody else that I've dealt with, the ones I'm dealing now over in the Clear Creek County side. But the one thing that they didn't know back then is how these serial killers would work across jurisdictional lines from county to county, and some of them from state to state. And by being across those jurisdictional lines, the communications between the various sheriff's departments, just in separate counties, even though they were close together, they weren't communicating back then like they do now. And so I think he could have gotten by with a lot of murders, you know, in those other jurisdictional areas. But the real ironic thing is that Detective Bray, or Sheriff Bray, that was in the plane that actually rescued him, was the next county over, Jefferson County, and some of the murders that I'm looking at that I think he may be responsible were right there in Detective Bray's, or Sheriff Bray's county.
Yeah, it seems like he was just going to stay around in that same area and just keep on doing what he was doing, you know, just like he just blended in, you know.
Another thing about him is, you know, I mean, we all kid about long haul truckers and how they go across the United States and they leave bodies from one end to the other, you know, using the.
But we're not talking about all. We're not talking about all truckers, everybody. Just some. Yeah, it's just a perfect occupation for some serial killers. Okay.
Yeah, but look at this, and I'm not saying this is the case. It's just totally speculation. But look at this guy. He works in the tow truck business. So all of those cars going up and down I-70 and breaking down were calling, and he was going out and making. So there's a possibility that it could be that he was doing the inverse of what truckers are doing. They were coming to him. And then when the situation was just right and he had somebody broken down somewhere out of the way, and, you know, he could have been doing something there, you know, so we just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Bobbie Jo's cross right there.
Yeah.
So.
That's crazy.
But the irony that Bray may have saved somebody. Save somebody that was coming over into his county afterwards and killing people in his territory. You know, you just can't make this up. It's so strange, you know, how it all worked out. But Detective Bray has been dead for a long time. I can't remember, was it in 1990 or so? But he's been dead for a number of years. But another interesting thing about Bray is that he was actually the lead detective back in the 60s. Whenever I was a kid, I remember this going on, but the Adolph Coors family lived right there in that Jefferson County area. Part of them lived up in Golden, but Adolph Coors III lived in Jefferson County right there. I can't remember the name of the town now, but anyway, he was kidnapped. A guy tried to kidnap him, and he got away. And during the struggle, and Adolph Coors III was running away, and the guy shot him in the back twice, and then shoved him in a car and went and hid the car and hid his body. But he had already that morning he had sent a letter to the family for a ransom, and like a $500,000 ransom. And but he killed him then and hid the body and everything, and he eventually gets caught. But Detective Bray, that was the second most talked about kidnapping in the 20th century, behind the Lindbergh kidnapping. And he wound up getting caught, but he only served 18 years in jail and lived up until about 2010. Got out of jail after 18 years. of kidnapping and killing Adolf Coors III, and finally died of cancer, I believe it was. But another funny thing about the whole story that just seems to be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that guy, he's actually shows up in other articles that I've read on the show. Bray.
Yeah.
You know, when I was doing some of those Colorado cases a while back.
Yeah, he was he was flying out to San Francisco to look at their facility. I can't remember whether it's 400 or 700 man facility that they had built out there at Contra Costa County for their new jail. And so Bray was going out there to look at that because he wanted to do the same thing in Jefferson County. And then after he got back, they did build one that was similar to that, and so he got that done. But the night he was flying out there to look at that was the night that he saw the lights for Phillips, and he was the impetus for him being rescued.
Yeah. Well, you're going to still be out there digging in to get some more information, right? We'll have to do an update.
Yes, I've got a lot more. I've made a lot of contacts in Georgetown this last week, and I've got some people helping me there with several things. And I've talked to one guy in the sheriff's department. I was trying to get a video of the upper part of the pass during the winter while it's still closed, to get a video up that way. But anyway, I've got a lot of things lined up. I've got to contact a couple more people about some interviews about the rescue portion, and but yeah, it probably in another month or so I'll have quite a bit more information to come back with.
Awesome. Well, that was pretty crazy information that we've had for a while, just kind of holding on to it, and then we actually, we never really heard back from whether or not they wanted to keep it under wraps or not. But
yeah, I think we did the right thing, in holding it for 2 months. I was really thinking that, some national news organization is going to pick up on that, with it being a UPI news story and everything. But to give them a couple of months, of course, we were trying to wait to let them have one trial date and see what happened before we released it. But they kept delaying those dates, and it finally got to where this last week we found out that the one that was scheduled for May 18th was actually going to be pushed back as much as 2 months. And so we just couldn't hang on to it for another couple of months. So we did the right thing. We cleared it, and we told them what we had, and we sent them copies of what we had. So law enforcement, had it, and, and they didn't answer back when we told them we were going to release it in your podcast and everything. So they must not have objected to it and everything, but we were just getting to the tail end of where, it's just going to be too long, and eventually somebody else is going to break the story when we've been holding on to it for all these months. So I think we did a good job. We did the right thing, in letting them know, and we did the right thing in holding off, trying to give them time to have their trial date. And that's all you can do. Do what you think's right. And I think we did everything that we needed to do from our end. So
I agree. All right. Well, hey, Dennis, you're a legend, man. Just keep doing what you're doing over there. I don't know
about that.
I got to meet you over there. Maybe we'll try to figure something out, like during the not in January though, but like in sometime this summer or something. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, one of the things, of course, there's some other things. I've got some other videos and everything. Explain a little bit about Annette's body and why it was found where it was found and the reason for that. Yeah. And but I was there for the 39th anniversary on January 6th, and that was very, very eye-opening to actually be able to walk, in that time of year and with the weather and it being, like I said, it's 50 degrees warmer, but still it was so cold you just couldn't hardly stand it. But it just really opened my eyes up a lot. And the other thing that I would like to do is actually go back maybe the first week of July. That would be the 39th anniversary of them finding Annette's body. And I would like to go back on that date and see what the water level in Sacramento Creek is like. So maybe we can do something about then.
Yeah.
We've had to run out there so many times. We're broke. We spent so much money. We've spent so much money since last December going out there so many times, and it's just like something else happens. We've got to hurry up and go out there again and everything. And we're old and living on Social Security, but we're having a blast doing it, and we've really enjoyed it. We've had a great time, but it's really been an experience. But for a couple of old people,
well, you're doing a really great job of sort of just digging in and finding information. So, and you're writing a book at some point too. So there you go.
Yeah, the book. I mean, I was hoping to be finished with it by the end of the year, but now there's so much going on. I'm just not even sure of that, because all of this has really kept me sidetracked for 2 months. So I've spent 2 months without being able to.
Well, it's all going to be stuff
but
it's all going to be stuff. I mean, you couldn't really be writing it, really. I mean, until the story's still being told. All this stuff here is going to add a tremendous amount to the book.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I really thought it was going to be the end of the year before the DNA came back, and they caught him and everything. So I thought I had more time. But everything that I've written, in the last 2.5 years, originally I thought, okay, now I'm going to go back and change everything and put this in it. But I think I'm actually going to have two parts of the book. The first part's going to be everything that I had and a lot of my speculation and everything along the way. I'm just going to leave that in there. And then I'm going to have a part 2 of the book on everything from him being caught going forward.
I think it's a good way to do it.
And it's going to show, it's going to point out how stupid I was in some places. But I kind of got interjected. At first, the book was nothing. I wasn't going to be involved in it. It was a book just solidly about this case. But then once they took my DNA, I'm more or less interjected into there. And so the last chapter of the book, I've actually got the last paragraph of the book already written. But the last chapter of the book is going to be called Suspected Killer. And it's going to be about them taking my DNA and everything that I had to go through for all of that. And that's going to be the end of the book. So that last part is going to be, I'm more or less interjected into the case. And so there's going to be some stuff about me in there. But so it's going to be like a 2-part book, the before and after.
Oh, I think it'll be. I think it's just sort of the entire story journey related to the case. It's not really just the story about them now, because you are part of, it's kind of like your story on the case. And of course, the first part will all be about the case and all the information, what happened. But there's so many, your little anecdotal stories that you have, different people that you've met, different, the whole DNA debacle, the the SOS crap, you finding this picture after that, just all the different, talking to the pilots. I mean, it's going to be really awesome, to be honest with you. So
yeah, I'm looking forward. I've written quite a bit in the part 1 of the book and everything, and I think I've got some pretty good stuff in there. But this second half, all of this crazy stuff is going to really, it's just going to be a good way to end the book with all of that. But
yeah, you got to title it.
See what he's going to do.
You got to title it the same as the show. You got to call it The Craziest. I don't know. I mean, it really is, though. It's you got to admit, listen, everybody. If you're ever writing a movie, don't put in anything like that in a script, okay? Because it's
nobody would believe it.
They would just go, God, that's stupid. Oh, come on, Jesus. Signaling an airplane with an SOS signal? Give me a break, okay? Yeah.
Well, I've only been able, to keep it under wraps and everything, make sure it didn't get out. Only a handful of people, have I been able to talk about this in the last 2 months, and of course this stuff in the last week that it happened. So I've been able to talk to a whole lot of people, but my whole family's just like, you got to be making this up,
Yeah.
And then I show them
Mine
newspaper
too.
articles, and they're like, could this really happen?
No, you definitely have to read the article out loud to them, or they just kind of go, oh, okay, maybe you misheard something, or Yeah, but it's always been great having the conversing with you over the years on this case. From time to time, keeping me updated and going over it.
Yeah,
so.
You're the only reason I got involved in this. Of course, I came in and started listening to you at the very first part of the Delphi case. Was the first time I ran across you, and of course, I just. I didn't even know what hit like and subscribe meant. It took me 2 years to figure that out. I'm an old guy. I was just the whole podcasting deal. I didn't understand any of it. But anyway, I got to watching you, and so finally, after 2 years, I finally hit like and subscribed, and I've been hooked on with you ever since. And it really, because at that time, that was the lowest point of my life. I've nearly died 4 times in 23 months there, and so it was really, really low time of my life, and it's been since I got hooked on with you, it's really been good for me.
Well, I'm glad. I mean, there are a lot of people that say that the show helps them out, but in your case, it's really like, man, give you like this whole project to work on, and I'm so glad it worked into something like that for you.
Yeah, because once you turn 65, I mean, you really kind of lose your sense of relevance in the world.
Oh, well, you're relevant. I wouldn't say you're not. I mean, you're a very smart person, and you're out there doing cool shit. I consider you a friend.
It's been fun. It's been fun.
Well, it's still going, man. Come on, you're gonna make me get upset here. Come on, it's still fun.
Treve and I got together a year ago. We hadn't seen each other in 50 years, and she's just always shaking her head like, "Can you believe it?" But I told her, I said, it hadn't been boring, has it? And she said, no, it hadn't been boring. So anyway, it's been a crazy time.
Yeah. Well,
I'm going to get off of here. I've been talking too long, and
it's never too long.
I just want to say thanks to all the Freak guys, and the Freak family has been very, very important to me. I'm usually working, so I'm not involved in the chat a whole lot, but I'm always there. It's been a great time. I'm going to go to CrimeCon here. It's a couple of weeks away, and it's in Austin. My son lives down there, so we're going to go to CrimeCon. I'd like to maybe meet up and see if I could push the book, maybe find a publisher or something that might be around there, or somebody that has some connections to a publisher, and start looking at that portion, and maybe do something to get that started at least, and maybe get a little bit of money to do a lot more research and everything. So I'm going to CrimeCon. I was hoping you were going to be there.
Yeah, I'll definitely go next year. I'm pretty sure about that. But I'm just still kind of like, I don't know. Just it seemed like I didn't even think they were going to have it.
Thanks to everybody. I hadn't been reading the chat and everything, and I know everybody's. But thank you guys. Thank you for putting up with me all this time. But anyway,
no.
I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, appreciate having you around. All right, man. See you later.
Bye.
Dennis. See, he's a great guy, right? I've sort of been following along as he's been sick a couple different times, and seems to be doing pretty well now. So there you go. Yeah, lucky to have him as part of the Freak family. See, that's where the difference is like we got people like Dennis who actually literally do go figure stuff out, and we work together as a team and do good work, not just fake crap that you see all the time. All right. Hey, Holly, thanks for trying to get the wave going. I'm not sure what the deal is tonight. You got this great show, and it's one of our slow nights again. How come that happens sometimes on the really good show nights? Oh, is that where we're going now? The beach? Yeah. Woo! Jennifer sent me to the beach. Oh, the music. Okay, it's going to kick in. Let me see. Hold on, let me try that again. There we go. All right, we're on the beach now. Yeah, he was sick a little bit. Hey, and it's Tracy's birthday too. We got to get Mary Lou to sing happy birthday. Here, I'm gonna take off for just a second. You guys are gonna have to buy me a drink. All right. Got myself a. Oh wow! Look at all the. Hey, thank you, Allie Cake, Jennifer Rochelle. I got some hula lessons. You know, tiny bubbles. Linda Howell, Miss Marple, Karen Price, DMDJ, Tracy, Carolina Girl. All right. Well, thank you guys. All right. Oh, and there's Susanna Matt Gillipadrick. Oh, yeah. All right. Slim Dog said that there's a missing person from Castleblair, Florida named Jocelyn Archivist. Why don't you send me a link and maybe I'll look at it one of these tomorrow or something like that. Ziplining adventure. Awesome. Man. All right, Mary Lou, are you going to sing Happy Birthday or what? This video could... Oops, let me get to a different screen. Are you going to sing Happy Birthday to Tracy?
Okay, gee, another one? God.
What are you complaining about? What else are you going to be doing?
Well, it's a good point. Nothing.
Wow.
Happy birthday. Hey, how come that music's playing over me?
Adventure, Evergreen Tree.
Hold on. Hold on. All right, here we go.
Happy birthday to Tracy. Wait, happy birthday to Tracy. Happy birthday to Tracy. Happy birthday to Tracy. Happy birthday to you.
And many more.
What the hell was that, Mary Lou? Sound like you were a robot and you just kind of like went.
What do you mean, Gray? That's the best I can do.
No, you've done a lot better than that. That was absolutely terrible.
Gosh, Gray, you're so mean. I'm never singing again.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not, Gray.
Oh, Jesus. I guess she's saying she's never singing Happy Birthday again. That's a damn shame, isn't it? I don't know if she was trolling you, Tracy. Was she trolling you in the way she sang that at the end? I think there was a little something going on there. Okay? I think there's a little something different. Yeah. Yeah, so if you guys missed the craziest story that you... put a 1 if you don't know what the craziest thing in the world was in this story. Put a 1 if you came in late and you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Because I can say it quick, and it'll freak you out. Okay, there's a few of them. All right. So you showed up to see something crazy. I'm not going to go over the whole case again. But if you just look at the screen right here. There goes my stomach. This guy right here killed both of these women on the same night. They didn't know each other. 2 different hitchhikers, same town. One was found 6 months after the other. He killed them both. 40 years later, he was just arrested a couple months back, 3 months back. He lived in a small town. He lived in Georgetown, Colorado at the time. There was blood on one of Bobbie Jo Oberholzer's gloves that led to genealogy research that had 10,000 people in the database, and it finally led to this guy named Alan Phillips. Okay, however, the crazy part of the story is that in the newspapers at the time, I'll just do that. I'll show you it again. I'll go just like this. And you can go back and watch. So if you go to newspapers.com and you type in Alan Phillips, and then you go over here and just put in the date of January 1982. That's when the murders happened. And all these UPI stories show up. And here's one right here. Alan Phillips found himself stranded in the snowy Colorado mountains with tire chains. So he used his pickup truck's headlights to flash an SOS signal that was spotted by a passenger in a jetliner thousands of feet above. Phillips, 30, and a resident of Georgetown, Colorado, was driving home Wednesday night from Bailey, Colorado, and had to cross 11,665 feet Guanella Pass. Near the summit, his pickup truck in the snowdrifts. Anyways, Phillips had warm clothing and an emergency blanket to keep warm, but no tire chains. You find out how lonely it is really quick, he said. He recalled, I thought about walking to a ski area nearby and went about 200 yards and thought, no way, it's just too cold. As he sat in his truck with the temperature at 20 below, wondering what to do, Phillips heard an airplane overhead. He started flashing his headlights in the SOS signal, 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. On the plane was Harold E. Bray, a passenger flying to San Francisco on business. Bray also is the sheriff in the Denver suburb area of Jefferson County. Bray noticed the lights flashing below, recognized the code, and alerted the plane pilot. The pilot radioed the Federal Aviation Administration, which asked 2 nearby planes to investigate. Mike Wilcox, the pilot of a Rocky Mountain Airway plane, spotted the truck and radioed the FAA to trouble report was, the trouble report was forwarded to the Clear County Sheriff's Office, which sent out 2 vehicles to rescue Phillips. Okay, so here's Alan Phillips. This is the killer. And what's amazing about it is this is the night he killed the 2 women, and he's driving home over the pass and got his car stuck. It wasn't like a week later. It would still be mildly interesting, but what's crazy about this is the night he killed Annette Schnee, Bobbie Jo Oberholzer, and his car got stuck on the way back to his house that same night. They just didn't put the pieces together because it was 30 miles away type of thing. So there you go, everybody. So if you're in here and you just heard that the first time, what are your thoughts on that? Isn't that one of the craziest things you've ever heard? Like if you wrote that into a movie, people would laugh you right off the Writers Guild. They would just go, "Oh, you sound like an idiot. Why would you put that in there?" Well, because it actually is something that happened. Yeah, well, what happened was regarding Jenny Penny, during the investigation, which was a good sign that they were actually doing genetic genealogy, there was a family line with the last name of Stewart, and because Dennis, being his age and everything, and him inserting himself and being interested in the case, they thought, well, now we can't communicate with you. But later on, they cleared him once they actually found out who the killer was, and now they continued communicating with him again after that. So that was an interesting part. Yeah. Well, it didn't help them arrest him at all. It's just a crazy story that's actually in the paper of him on that night. This story made it all around the country. Look at how crazy this is. Watch this. Boston, Massachusetts. Well, shit, this took place in Colorado. North Carolina, British Columbia, Phoenix, Arizona. The only place it didn't show up was in Colorado. Los Angeles, Sacramento, St. Louis, Missouri, for God's sakes. And looks like some of these other ones are different, different Alan Phillips, but like right there, look how amazing that is, right? What do you mean? What case? What are you talking about? Yeah. Yeah, the whole story is crazy. I mean, it was kind of a typical, case where somebody killed somebody. It was a cold case, but it became crazy in the last year or so. I mean, that's probably one of the wildest things. Now, what's cool is the 1961 hitchhiker case. I talked more in depth today with Colleen about that. She was talking about how they feel pretty good. Like they got rid of all the bacteria off the outsides of the bone of a tibia, I think. And then they ground it up and they got just a tremendous amount of DNA. But Astria, I guess, felt good about it. And man, in the next couple of weeks, there could be the actual sequencing and then uploaded to GEDmatch. I mean, my God, everybody. Woo! God, could you imagine? To actually have that. Man, I'll tell you what, if that actually turns out when we identify who that person is, I don't care what I do all these rest of the years or anything like that. Just that alone makes all of the stuff that we've ever done on here worth it, doesn't it? I mean, it really does. It's just incredible. So hopefully you guys all feel the same way. It's just, man, how awesome would that be? And then also, do you guys remember the case of the where was that one? Summit County. Let's see. I call it Peak 6. There it is. In Breckenridge. Yeah, so that we're actually working on a case that isn't even far away. Look how wild this is. See where Breckenridge is? Right here? This is where Breckenridge, where the 2 girls were abducted. And then just right up there, I mean, here's the whole general area that we've been talking about. Just right up here on this peak is where we did a fundraiser and collected money, and they're still working on it, for the DNA Doe project, and they found a skull, and then they traced the skull back up the hill, found a body of a guy that apparently killed himself, but he had ground the serial number off the gun. There was all kinds of stuff, but apparently there's some weirdness. They've been doing genealogy on it, and they've got a hold of Interpol, and it's a little bit some intrigue. It could turn into another absolutely crazy case. Okay, so we'll have to see what happens with that one. So we have that one, and then 2 more, because I just said yes, we'll fund the one with the body parts found in a bag, and then also there was another one of a guy that had flippers on and a gunshot wound to his head, but he was weighted down in the water. And my opinion is that I don't know. We'll figure out what's going on with that one, but I think we discussed it one night. I'm not going to say what my opinion is on that, but I already have one. Yeah. So anyway, you guys want to call in or anything tonight? I mean, it's only 8:55. I got the numbers still sitting here. It's still open. I think. Well, no, actually, got to start a new meeting, I think. Here, I'm going to do the link. I'll put it in here, and then we'll switch it over to we'll pin it. Yeah, well, I think the guy killed himself in the water, because you're not going to kill somebody, weigh him down, and then put flippers on. I think he probably swam out with flippers on, with weights, and then shot himself, and then he sunk. That's my opinion. No, not in any case. I just want, I don't know. Maybe I won't do it. Well, unless you wanted to, right, Zozo? I mean, if he wanted to die that way, then that's what he, for him, it probably wasn't horrible. Yeah, I don't think you'd put flippers on a guy that you're going to dump with weights on. Right. Hey, do you guys want to, remember that guy? Okay, listen. This is the difference between me and the grifter, okay? You know that Harmon guy that accused, you guys have probably, in the Delphi case, have all heard of the guy that accused his dad of being the killer. You remember that? He went on his show for hours, and all the idiot Greeno fans were out there going, "Oh wow, this is so great! It's so great!" Well, I'll tell you what. You know what? The father, he just died. Okay, and I don't know what he died from, but what I can tell you right now is that the last days of his life were spent being accused of being a killer by his kid. Okay, so let me show you. Let me tell you what kind of guy this Harmon guy is. Okay, he's just an absolute clown of a person. All right. So after he was on the dipshit's channel, okay, the grifter who will do anything for views, listen to what he left me on a voicemail on Facebook. You guys want to hear this? This is what he sent me on Facebook. Listen to this.
I was just wanting to say, hey, this is Sean, and we're here live, going 111 on 1. So, how was your night, Gray Hughes? Probably not as good as his channel. So have a good fucking night, and so long, sucker!
Yeah, see, that's what he really is, everybody. And see, I knew what he was like while I was reading his... You know, he kept sending me comment after comment after comment, thousands and thousands, you know, like this almost a ludicrous amount of messages. And so for him, it was a grift too. Like, what is he doing? Why am I a sucker? Listen, I didn't want you on my show. Okay, that's the difference between me and someone like the grifter, Anthony Greeno. Okay, I won't put garbage like this guy on my show. Okay. You know, even if it turns out somehow miraculously it was true, I wouldn't put him on the show because he is a nutcase, okay? And you can't do that. If you're in the true crime community, you have to be doing factual stuff, factual information, real stuff. This is, I don't know what it is. I mean, what made it so to the point where it's the entertainment that people love so much? Okay, I mean, you can make a show entertaining but be factual, right? This just sucks. God, I hate this shit. Man, sometimes it makes you just want to bail on the whole thing. I cannot believe that so many people are being suckered by that person. Unbelievable. God. Absolute grifter. Yeah, go look them up on the internet. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. They're all true stories. They're not fake. All right. Unbelievable. Nah, I don't want to do that. This account. That's why I want other callers, new callers. Let's see. Maybe tomorrow night we'll do true crime, like your own true crime call-ins. You seem really antsy to get a call in. I keep reading your comments. Thanks, Sean Beecham. Yeah. So in my experience of all the stuff that I've looked at, this incident on this pass right here is one of the craziest things I've ever heard of in my entire life. Okay? I'm talking about literally, I mean, he flashes down a jet airliner with an SOS signal, and somebody just happened to be looking out and saw that somebody was flashing SOS, and then they get the police out there by going through the pilot and all this stuff, and it turns out that the guy that they rescued off the mountain 40 years later had just got done killing 2 women and was driving home, and for 40 years had escaped the eyes of police. Unbelievable. Yeah? Yeah, I know. Yeah, and that too. Well, that's probably why he recognized it, because I guess he was in the military too. But yeah, and he's also a sheriff that's been in other stories that we've covered, right? Yeah. And then you've got another guy out there named Harvey who makes some of the most ludicrous videos in the world. And then you've got a guy that claims he was a profiler over there touting absolute garbage. And when you see that, then you realize that person doesn't have a clue what they're doing. Okay? And that's just the truth, everybody. At first I was like, oh, hey, let's see what this guy has to offer. Then he starts going, yeah, Harvey, God, he's great, man, this is good stuff. And then, Oh my God, here we go. He lost all credibility as soon as he mentioned that guy's name. Yeah. Exactly. Well, the thing is I kind of am glad, here's the reality. I'm glad he wasn't asleep, because he never would have been arrested. There's no way in hell. I guess it would have been a post-mortem, like it would have led to a person that isn't alive anymore, but it made sense because he lived in the area. At least now he gets to have some years of punishment. I hope he lives till he's 100. So he gets 30 years in prison just staring at a blank wall. Yeah. I mean, it would have been cool, too, if he had died back then. Oh, that's true. Yeah, I guess that's a good way to look at it. If it keeps other people that he might have killed afterwards, yeah. So, would have kept the serial killer out of off the streets. I guarantee it, he killed more people. If he didn't, I'll be shocked. You don't kill 2 random people one night and then go, yeah, I'm done. Yeah. That means you were just, boom, you're on a roll that night. Hello. Oh, wait, somebody's just checking in here. I guess I don't have it on. Hello. Hey, Alex, you got to turn down the audio. You can't have the audio playing. No, you can't play the audio from the show. You just got to use your microphone. Hello, Alex. Alex. Okay, we're gonna have to get rid of you. Yeah. It's crazy. Like, there was a video that Harvey just put out that was so ludicrous. And he goes, wow, Harvey, good stuff, man. Yeah, it's so shameful. It's embarrassing. It's just, they took this face and it ended up looking like the Elephant Man. And as we can clearly see, the sketches don't look like the Elephant Man. Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to, Plato. You don't want to. I'm just telling you right now. If you watch anything that he puts out and you have a mild interest in it being something worthwhile, then you shouldn't be in the true crime community doing anything, okay? Because there's nothing. Well, Gray, I did these research here, and I got about 150 people at the bridge that day, Gray. Okay. Well, besides me being a nuclear scientist at one point, and helping the Pentagon with all their research, yeah, give me a break, dude. They probably got him on a watch list, to be honest with you. This guy's a real nutter. They probably have these little, he comes within 100 miles of the place and you hear this. Yeah, that Harvey guy showing up again. Yeah, he's a real nutter. Watch out. Yeah. You know how that's going. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I probably have a... Ooh.
Testing, testing, testing.
Testing. Hey, is this that one? Hey. What is this? Testing. Hi, this is Hal. Why don't you try eating something out of the refrigerator, Jim? Testing. 1,
2.
3. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, we got a real big nutter here named Harvey. He's coming in. Yeah, watch out for that guy. Okay, thank you. Yeah. I think that's the one I was looking for. Number 23. What the hell is this? Yeah. So if you're still watching and you're somebody, we're done with the update on the Breckenridge case, okay? And I don't know how long I'm going to be on here tonight. It was mainly just to have Dennis on and for us to go over the crazy stuff. Little do they know. That's right. Well, that's what I always say, Heather, is that genetic genealogy, it serves two purposes. One, it actually catches the person years later. And two, all serial rapists and serial killers that had a sexual component to it, that either left semen or something else, they're all shitting their pants every single day for the last 4 years. Okay, 3 years. For the last 3 years, they are just crapping their pants, knowing that one of these days the door is going to ring and it's going to be a cop arresting them. Right? Yeah, well, that's because you don't need a Zoom meeting ID. That number up on the top doesn't work. It's the link at the top of the chat. You have to use that. It's like a video. Yeah, I just don't want to get into any kind of serious cases or anything. If you want to just call in to talk about whatever you want, some about the show or something like that, that's great. But I don't really want to be, tonight, this wasn't what it was about. It was just the show. If you want to talk about the case that we just talked about, that's awesome. Or you want to talk about the show in general, or you want to talk about, I don't know. I just don't really want to get into the true crime stories tonight that people have, because that's not what I was planning. I like to keep those for the nights that's what we're doing. Thank you, Dan Carr. Yeah, they had another UFO information is going to be coming out pretty soon. No, Susanna. You wait for another show, Susanna. You call in every single show, all right? No, I don't have a call-in number. I have a link at the top of the screen. Susanna McGillapadrig. She's like that one caller when you say, you already know who it is, they call in the talk shows. And hey, it's Susanna from Ireland. Oh boy, here we go. Hello. Well, no, Tucker Carlson's always believed in them. Oh, look at that. She says whatever. Come on, Susanna. You want to call in about this show? Go ahead. If it's some other random thing, no. But yeah, you got to click the link at the top. That's what I was just telling you. See at the pinned comment, Susanna, at the top? Oh yeah, you're going to talk about that UFO that they sighted? Okay. Well, at the top of the screen right there, you've got the pinned link. Yeah, maybe the bow tie just didn't look as cool. You know. Not sure what's going on here. Somebody's trying to connect. This account is. I'm going to have to hang up on it. Just waiting and waiting and waiting. Yeah, I bet you that's right. I bet a German Shepherd was abducted. Yeah, I think Tucker's a really smart person, and he notices a lot of hypocrisy that's out there. He also says some conspiratorial stuff that kind of, then people can point to that, and he loses credibility. But he points out a lot of obvious just absolutely hypocrisy. It's just incredible. Ridiculous shit. So good value for that. Oh. Why did you try to already join? Oh, that was I see. Yeah, you couldn't. You kept having the audio playing. Yeah, once you get removed, you can't join back in again. You can't get back in. Yeah, well, CNN and MSNBC shoot themselves in the foot every single day, every single show, every single second. So that's what I'm always saying. So unless you want to agree with everything that they say, then all of a sudden they're not. But yeah, CNN, MSNBC, they shoot themselves in the foot every second of every single day. Let's see. So maybe I have to restart a new one then. Let me see. Maybe I'll stop this one and I'll start a new meeting. And I think it's a new one. Let's see. Let's see. All right, so maybe try the new pinned link. Maybe that one works. What do you want? What are you going to talk about this account? I mean, it's so easy to use that link, and people just struggle with it. I'm not sure what the deal is. Every single meeting I ever have with anybody, you send them a link, and boom, they're right there. And for some reason... Alright, let's try this one again. Now, if you're listening to the show audio, I'm going to hang up on you in 1 second. All right? Susanna, here we go. If I hear my voice feeding back, I'm going to be hanging up. All right, you there? Susanna, you're unmuted. You're not mute. But you're not saying anything. Okay, I'm going to mute you, and then I'm going to ask to unmute you and see if that fixes it for you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to remove it again. Are you there? See, they're not even muted, and they're not talking. What's going on, Susanna? Forget it. God. Unbelievable. So easy. All right, let's try this next one. This account. Nice try, Zozo. Nice try. Thanks, Zo. All right, are you there? This account? Hello? I can see it, but you're not making any noise, you know, like they're. Okay, now it's connecting the audio. No, you weren't muted. That's the thing, Susanna. You weren't muted. You were literally, everything looked totally normal, like you should have just kept talking. And you didn't say a word. It was just dead silent. Okay, this account, are you there now? Jeez. Oh. Okay, forget it. I'm going to shut it down. Here's what we'll try. I'm going to go back to those numbers again. And then I'm going to do a new meeting. And then I'm going to switch over to the and we'll make just the regular old phone numbers. For some reason, your guys' phones suck and you're not able to get on like every single other person in the world when they're doing Zooms. Alright? Okay, so I'm not, never mind, that's not the passcode up there. Okay, so right now I thought that replaced it. Hold on. Huh. Alright, so the pinned post has the meeting ID and the passcode, and then the phone number is up at the top there. That's just unreal. Man, it's so easy. Yeah, I got rid of the meeting. That's why, Jenny. Yeah. I just said that loud on the screen. Those are the numbers. The pinned chat comment is the meeting ID and the passcode. Yeah, Richard Watts said today he was talking to Elon Musk and everybody. Yeah, I'm going to wait for another 3 minutes. I mean, listen, Dennis could do it, okay? He's not, he said he wasn't digitally, he's digitally challenged. Yeah, he got on, okay? So, okay, If I hear my voice, I'm hanging up. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I don't hear it.
Hello, do you hear your voice?
No, I don't hear it.
Hello, do you hear your voice?
No, I hear your voice.
That's how it should be, right?
That's how it should be, right? No, I now hear an echo. I'm just kidding. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, he gave me a coronary there. I thought it was going to be. Anyway, I wanted to call about UFO thing because that's something I'm very interested in, having seen one.
Yeah.
The states are going to release, or supposed to release, almost everything they have about UFOs in about a month.
Yeah.
And it's it's curious because, the UK was supposed to have released everything it knew about UFOs a couple of years ago. But they apparently fibbed or something because it's not out there. Mm. But the people who have really released a lot, believe it or not, are the French and the Brazilians. And I'm very curious to see if the French and the Brazilians, and now what the states are going to say, have some commonality about them. Because you would think that if the French are keen on the same thing, they have aircraft carriers too. I mean, they're wimpy, but they've got them. Mm. And they have interceptor planes, and they're wimpy. Well, they're not wimpy. I shouldn't say that on those. Anyway, I'm very curious as to see, and I think everyone should be, if there's some sort of continuality between the various countries who have already released a lot of information, like Peru has. And it would be very interesting if they're all in sync. And I think that's my feeling, that I don't think you're going to just have UFOs buzzing the U.S. Navy. If they're buzzing the U.S. Navy, it stands to reason they're buzzing the Chinese, and they're buzzing the Russians, and they're buzzing the French, and maybe the Australians too. Mm. Right?
Yeah.
Because they appear to be the film released by the U.S. so far has only been from the U.S. Navy interceptor planes. It hasn't been from any land-based interaction. So I'm wondering, is it only over the water? Because that's where we saw it. It was over the water. Or are they buzzing around in the U.S. in some parts that are rather remote? Because the U.S. has a lot of remote. Peru, Brazil, we have a lot of remote. France, not so much remote. And the UK, well, Scotland's always remote.
Hey, Dennis wants you to say y'all like Texan, in a Texan accent.
Y'all? Y'all?
I don't know.
Y'all.
That's not really that good.
It's your... no, let me do this again. Y'all. Is that better? I mean...
Nah, not really.
I haven't been able to catch a rerun of Dukes of Hazzard anymore, so I'm kind of,
Yeah, well, you should ask ask Harvey about that, because this person gave him a tip, and the person's name was Roscoe P. Coltrane, which was the right? Yeah, Harvey got a tip from a guy named Roscoe P. Coltrane. It was the greatest tip in the history of the world. Okay, and Roscoe, remember it was Roscoe P. Coltrane.
Coltrane.
Yeah, he was the guy.
And Boss Hogg. I always liked Boss Hogg. Not the character so much as the name.
Right.
Yeah. So, about also this Harvey, who is not a Pratt, well, he would be a Pratt in the UK, wouldn't he? But the Harvey and the Greeno people, they're so far beneath you as to be inconsequential,
Well, I don't really look at it like that. I just look at it like, I don't really look at it like, who's beneath what or whatever. I just look at it like, wow, you have so many people believing this garbage. And that's the scary part, is it just shows you there's so many gullible people out there. Look, if he does a fundraiser for $2,000 or something, I guarantee it, almost none of it's going to anywhere near where it's supposed to be going. So, just all be on the lookout.
He's a low-level. Yeah, he's sort of a con man, you know. He's not a honest type of person. So if he did it with GoFundMe or some kind of fundraiser, you know, someone like me could turn him in, you know.
Yeah, well.
And he would demand accountability. So that part, you know, I wouldn't be too upset about. But you know, these people who follow these idiots, you're never going to make someone who is that stupid have an epiphany.
Right.
That, whoa, I've been listening to this person for 6 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, whoa, he's an idiot. And how didn't I know?
Well, what they'll actually do is they'll look for confirmation bias, so that they don't feel like they wasted all those years. They'll look at that one little thing. Oh, well, we use the one, you know, and they'll come up with some reason. It's really crazy.
Well, it's frightening because these people actually probably can vote in elections, you know, and it's like, how can they make logical and rational decisions?
Yeah, that's the part that's scary. Yeah.
It's, you know, it is frightening, you know, and they probably have spawned like I do children, and they're probably training their children to be as silly as they are, you know, to believe things that are unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, like, what kind of person decides that somehow their deceased father, I think you said, and then their son together conspired to kill the two girls at Delphi? I mean, it's ludicrous.
Yeah, well, let's just say, you know, I guess what we have to say is it's quote, possible. You know, 1 in a billion, right? But, so the thing is, it's possible, but it's so far-fetched, and law enforcement's not interested in it. And so, so the thing is he, what Greeno did was he allowed somebody to come onto his show, and, you know, he kept trying to throw in allegedly as if that was good enough. Yeah, it just isn't. It isn't at that point, because you're sort of continuing questioning on and on and on about whether or not this Dennis, I think his name was Dennis, was this killer in a case, and then he died. You know, this guy's name was Dennis Harmon. Yeah, so he ended up just dying today or something like that. Maybe he had cancer or something like that. I can't remember. I don't know exactly what it was, but
yeah, what's a rotten son, you know? But you know, simply by having this insane man on his program, you know, you can say allegedly all you want, but you validated him by having him on in the first place. You're vouching for him. You vouch for your guests.
Yeah,
right. I mean, you do. You don't.
Like if I had somebody like that on, and he started, as soon as I wouldn't even have somebody like him on. I can tell you that he messaged me probably 200 messages, all images and this and that and the other thing. And I just was reading, you know, the parts that I was reading, I was like, yeah, I just can't have somebody like that on. And then you see him show up, and then they're like, God, you missed out, Gray. You missed out. And it's like, no, I had a chance. I chose not to put him on, you know, and I did it for a reason. Look at that, everybody, right there. Can you guys see that? There's a head right here, and there's hair, and then there's ears, and a head, and then a neck, and then you guys can see that, right? And
a dimple. It's got a dimple too, you know. Can't you see the dimple?
That's what they do on Harvey's channel. They see stuff like that.
In the dimple, is the UFO base.
Oh yeah.
And they all live in that dimple, you know, and they come out of it.
Oh, look at this right here. There's a screaming. Look at that. There's a screaming pig. It's going, oh no, and it's got his eyes. It's really angry. There's the ear, the eyes, and then you got that. Oh my Lord!
Yeah, it does look rather porcine, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Look at that thing. Come on, you got to admit, that looks just like one. Look at that, right there.
Yeah. Have you been listening to Coast to Coast in that Richard
C. Hoagland?
Richard, yeah, him.
He's still on there? Wow, man.
I haven't heard him on there for quite a while. You know, I kind of thought maybe he died or something, but I don't know for sure, because he used to be on him, and he used to be on Richard Dolan, and even Linda Moulton Howe.
Linda Moulton Howe is and Linda Howe is and Linda Moulton Howe. Yeah, well, the thing is the thing about Richard C. Hoagland is he always believed that there was these little domes on the moon, and that's why we haven't gone back. It is kind of strange that we've never been, like, why don't we have a base already on the moon, right? How come? I mean, that would be a place where you just it would have been really logical. You fly over there, you keep building up a base, and you build up a base on there, and it'd be awesome. I mean, I don't understand why.
Yeah, I don't understand why we don't either, because, they're talking now about going to colonize Mars or something, which is fine, if Elon Musk wants to go colonize Mars, more power to him. Mm-hmm. But the best place to practice would to be colonize the moon first, because it's closest.
Yeah.
Too much Brazilian fruit punch, Susanna, sorry. It's closest. And it would be a perfect place to launch your rocket to go to Mars.
Because it wouldn't take much energy to get it off the moon.
Exactly.
Comparatively.
It wouldn't have to go through the Earth's atmosphere at all.
Yeah.
The moon has none.
And by the way, when you pull up these Mars maps, oh, good. That's awesome. Oh man, he's just he's the biggest clown there ever was. But look at this. When you load up Mars, it puts pins. The ones that you had on Google Earth for cases are still there. So they're, like it'll say body found. It's really like, look at all these. Look at these. Those are all the Google Earth ones. Whoa. Like there's Delphi. Well, look at Delphi is in the middle of a. Look at Delphi is in the middle of a crater on Mars. It's wild.
Yeah. Well, maybe the guys, it's more likely that a Martian killed those two girls than the parents of that insane idiot. But, the more foolish people you have as guests, the more you taint yourself for your other guests. Because I won't even watch that stuff because you told me it's not worthwhile to watch.
Well, no, so I think you should. I think you should. People should check it out and see what the hell I'm talking about. It's the most ludicrous shit you've ever seen in your life, presented with a voice that sounds genuine. That's the part that's just wow, man. There should be when that kind of crap is being presented, it should be presented with the music "Baby Elephant Walk." That's what should be playing in the background. That's just an absolute.
Or the clown song, that clown one, that the clown's going in and out of the little car.
Yeah.
Because, that would work too. But so I think I'll go look at
this
channel, I suppose. I'll go look at it and go waste
you'll
a few extra brains.
Yeah, you'll see the Elephant Man video where you just touted as if it was the greatest video in the history of the world. It's just it's so it's hideous. All right, but anyways, I got this other person that's been on hold since you called in.
Anywho, hopefully maybe we can have one of those paranormal channel call-ins or something about UFOs when the new news comes out.
We should.
Yeah. And I need to stop talking anyway. I've had too much Brazilian fruit punch and the rum is hitting me very much. So y'all stay safe and get your vaccine as you can. And later, Gator.
Well, thanks for calling in. All right, again. Oh, she does what, just like Colleen does the same thing. Just, you still there? Okay. All right, 309. She didn't say magically delicious. Yeah, who's this?
This is this account.
Oh, this is this account. What's going on? Doesn't say
Hi,
that.
How are you?
Not too bad.
Sounds like I miss Susanna. I love her calls, so
yeah,
I'll have to go back and listen to that. I know you don't want us to talk about any specific accounts. Case, but I'm not going to do that. But I just want to let you know that I came to your channel how will I say this? You do cover some popular cases, and I actually was looking for some more clues in a particular case, and I came across a lot of channels that were doing, I don't know, things that were not easy to decipher. And when I found you, I was able to very quickly find exactly what I wanted to find about this particular case. And yes, it is a popular one.
But you had to weed through. You had to weed through the 4 hours of a show. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, and then I was like hooked. Okay.
Oh, okay.
But I could tell right away from your diagrams and what you do on your maps. You know, I wanted to see what the layout in that particular case looked like, and I couldn't find it anywhere, even mainstream.
Well, you can say
And
the
I was
name.
getting-
Well, you can say the name of the case because we're just. Yeah, but you don't. I don't really want to talk about.
Well,
it,
the case that I was looking for was the Delphi case, and I was probably 3 years late.
Oh.
I had heard about it, but then I learned a little bit more, and I wanted to specifically, Gray, what I wanted to know was, and I am speaking a little bit more slowly because I want you to be able to kind of, you know, interject when you want to. So don't ever think I'm talking over you, please. But, I wanted to see the layout. That was something that I could not understand. And it was very important to me, like this layout there. And when I looked, like I said, mainstream, they did not even do that. And I came to you and I was like, all right, Gray's on it. He knows, he's got the layout. He's got, you know, and that's where I started to understand maybe a little bit more about that particular case. And so I just really want you to know that that time and that effort is not lost on your viewers. Like it's very much appreciated, and that what you do there, it allows us to kind of be able to, you know, connect the dots a little bit. And
yeah. Somebody really wants to
Yeah.
know if you're from Illinois with your area code.
oh, well, you know how I am, Gray. I keep a little privacy online.
Well, I know that's what, but she's so obsessed with asking it over and over again. So I figured maybe that's a fake area code. So well, I guess we'll just.
No.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
It's a pretty big state. A lot of people live there.
Well, and if you can kind of sort of hear my accent, you'll know I'm a little bit more from the West.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The nose and.
Yeah, it sounds like more
You know,
like
that kind of thing.
like North. I can't even know. Who cares? Anyways, that's cool. I'm glad I was able to help you out. You know.
Yeah, and I wanted you to know that, and then also, I also want you to know that, like, you putting the spotlight on a missing case or a missing person case, like that means everything, you know, especially when a person, you know, they don't get mainstream coverage. They don't have that. They are just maybe needing to go down to their own local police department and maybe knock on that door. You know, we don't know what they do, but you put a spotlight on cases that otherwise they don't necessarily get that. And so just thank you so much for doing all that.
Well, cool. Yeah, I like this one that we're trying to That's one from 1976 or whatever it was.
Which one's that?
Well, it's the one that I'm trying to get you guys to decipher translate some of the letters. It's kind of an easy translation. There's only there's only like 4 or 5 words in there that aren't really, you could, like some of the word translations people did had some incorrect translations. I could see.
Right.
But
Okay.
most of it was right. Most of it was the same as mine, but I could tell that the other ones weren't.
Yeah, I did work on a little bit of that, but it's like I have little blocks of time, but then I have to drive or whatever's going on in life, and then I get pulled away, come back, and then I'm like typing, and then next thing I know, somebody else has already deciphered it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an additional, but it's fun. I think it's very fun. I think it's something that to do for people like myself, or if there's a little something that we can add, then all right, great, let's do it.
Yeah. Well, cool. We covered a lot of the cases a lot of people don't talk about, and that's what we do.
You do.
Yeah. So that's good.
Yeah. And one of these nights when you have like a true crime call in about situations where people have been in their own, then I'm going to call and hopefully maybe get through to you. And I'll give you mine that night, okay?
All right. Well, thanks for calling in. Be safe.
Yeah, so just kudos and keep up what you're doing, okay? Yeah?
North Dakota, right? There we go.
I know.
Hey, just another guess. You probably even throw your voice a little bit. Who cares? Who knows? But anyways, thanks for calling in. Be safe over there. Oh, well, be safe out there. All right.
All right. Thanks. You got to be clean, Gray.
All right. See you later.
All right. All right. Goodbye. See you in the chat.
All right. See you. Bye. Oh, sorry to hear, but I didn't know that, Jenny. That sucks. Yeah, well, I'm sorry it was I know what you're going through regarding your dad. I mean, Jenny Penny's a pretty, like a warrior out there. A little bit like Dennis regarding her own father's, a case regarding her own father. So I guess maybe one of these days we'll get to hear about it. It's pretty crazy, though, I'll tell you that. Listen. Harvey Carroll is an embarrassment. And he's one of the reasons that the true crime community... thankfully, a lot of people don't, watch or give a shit what he's saying. Thank God, okay? Because he does nothing. And I don't care if he... You know what? To be honest with you, I don't care anymore if he talks about me. I quit caring. Because he has these videos up with me anyways. And at this point, I think it just draws more attention to his idiocy. Okay? It's, he's one of those people very similar to the grifter where he claims all these things where, like he spoke at the United Nations. Basically... If he was in charge, he would have already solved the Delphi case. Oh, really? Monday? Wow, that's awesome. Well, I hope so. Actually, for you. Oh, really? Missed the deadline. What an idiot. Yeah. I don't care. He can make 1,000. You know what? Listen, during the Kanika Jenkins case, how many videos do you think were made about me with false information? Go ahead. I bet the number is in the hundreds. It was unbelievable. No, I do comment on his lives. Undercover 0047. I comment over there all the time. He's an idiot. No, he is an embarrassment. People like you, Undercover 0047, go over there and pretend that absolute nonsense is legit. There has been nothing, maybe one video out of 1,000 that had something mildly relevant to the case. Okay, that's the truth. All right, you are another lunatic yourself. That's the truth. It doesn't matter. You know what? I don't know if he's a veteran. I don't know anything about Harvey. And even if he is a veteran, I support veterans, police officers, and everything. But I don't support people who put out false information, even if you're a veteran. Am I supposed to go, wow, he's a veteran, so now I accept the fact that he's putting out bullshit? No. Okay? That's ludicrous. It's a false argument. Don't block those people, the trolls that are coming in. Let them. I want to hear what they have to say. But she misses the hearing on Monday. Oh, well, that's awesome. But there needs to be another trial, though, right? I mean, an actual, you know. See, I think it's going to keep going on for a while for you, regardless. Yeah, that's what bothers me. I find very few people out there. I don't care, you know, when there's other true crime people, like John Lorden doesn't bother me at all. He does it the right way. He gives back. He's credible. Okay. You've got, and then there's other people that, you know, there's a lot that are like him. And then there's this huge group of people that care nothing about anything but the views, so will distort and make the information way more entertaining and interesting. And that's what they do, and that's what Harvey does. He takes these stupid images, he'll take the sketch and put software on it and have the face moving around like, woo! And then he had like a tongue sticking out and twirling around. That's just, give me a break, dude. Nobody gives any two shits about any of that. Right, so that could be pretty soon. Pretty soon. Yeah, I like Harlow. She texted me earlier about, she wanted an answer to something. What was that? Oh, she wanted to know if I was going to CrimeCon and wanted to know something about Chadwell. I think we're on the same page. We both don't think it's likely going to be him. Very, very low odds. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate all veterans, all firefighters, police officers, you know, hell, nurses during, you know, but I mean, everyone appreciates nurses, right? Police officers, all of them. Okay? But what I don't appreciate are people like, you know, Derek Chauvin, for example. Why do I have to respect him because he was a police officer, even though he didn't care about the life of George Floyd? No. I don't have to give a shit about him. You know, I don't. I think Chauvin, you know, whether Floyd died from something else or not, he didn't care whatsoever about saving the guy's life. What are you talking about, John Reynolds? Don't know what you're saying. Oh, is he there right now, too? Oh, God. He's not even a profiler, like an actual profiler. Yeah, I don't know about that, Holly. I think 2 of those are pretty good, but I don't really care about abusing power. I'm talking about what I don't like is that he allowed someone to die and didn't care about that. I do care about the abusing power, but that's not any. I just don't. A lot of officers at times, will be that part isn't as egregious as just letting somebody die on the ground. That's what bugged me about Chauvin. Okay, he didn't give a shit. Even when people said, he doesn't even have a pulse, he just sits there with the knee, with this stupid look on his face. So he's not somebody that I care about. But it's weird how, on the other side, they care about these really violent, shitty people, even if they were killed in a justified way, because it supports a narrative. Like the guy that was paralyzed after reaching back into his car to get a knife that he even admits to. Notice how he sort of faded away from the stories, where he was this big hero for a long time. Yeah. Hey, Linda Howell. Linda, listen. Thank you, Linda, but just calm down. He's just a lunatic. Don't worry about it, all right? Just calm down, Linda Molden Howe of the Cattle Mutilations and Crop Circles. You can do it, Linda. Just don't worry about it. Listen, I have to deal with him every single day. He has these videos up that are totally bullshit about me. Completely false information, but he just thinks he's so clever and smart, and it makes him feel like he's popular because there's a few people that go, right on, man, Gray's so mean to so many people, and my God, thank you, Harvey, for finally putting him in his place. Yeah, I don't look at it like that at all. Abuse of power to me is a different thing. I think he literally just didn't care about his life, which kind of makes him a little bit like almost a sociopath. Abuse of power is when they put their light on top of the car and they go 80 miles an hour and there's nowhere, 100 miles an hour and there's nothing they're really going to. Or they, force you to do certain things that you really shouldn't have to be doing. Get out of your car, put your hands behind your back. Okay, you're resisting, that kind of shit. I don't like that stuff. Yeah, I do. But I'm right and you're not. That's the difference, Jenny Penny. Yeah. I don't look at it as abuse of power. And I don't really care what you want to call it. I think his lack of concern for his life is what makes him a shitty person. And why he should get whatever the hell he gets. He's supposed to be there to protect and serve, And once he was handcuffed, he now has to protect his life, and he really didn't give shit. So there you go. I wouldn't have done that. Wonder what would have been said. What do you mean, what would have been said? What do you mean by that, Dwight? I wonder what would have been said. I don't know what that means. Yeah, I think he should. I think he should just be treated as any other prisoner. I don't know. It could just be that it's so prejudicial because cops are just bait, they are a target in there. And that sort of makes him a little different than somebody else who didn't have regard for human life. They're not a target. They're just one of the cool inmates. But he's a cop, so he'd be a target of every single person in the general population. So I guess I can see why they wouldn't do that. Yeah. Good night, Linda Howe. Yeah, just don't stress it out at all, Linda. I have to deal with that guy all the time. He's a lunatic. Literally. So, just, I really appreciate you, though, going in there. Very kind. I can't watch it because I'm doing my own show. But, yeah, you just don't have to worry about it. I don't really care what he puts out at this point. He does the same thing every single time. Like he just put this guy named Roscoe P. Coltrane sent him a link to this girl who disappeared, who lived on the same street that James lived on. And then later on, somebody says, well, no, they've already talked about this one. It sounds like she died of a drug overdose in a hotel, apparently, and then these people. And, of course, he's going to leave it up there because it was sensationalistic and cool. You know? I don't know if that's true, that other part of the story, but... yeah. I would have done that to Mr. Floyd. I'm just trying to read what Dwight's saying. Oh, let's see. Yeah, no, it's really, it's you know what, Dwight? Here's the reality. You want to know what the truth is, Dwight? If people didn't resist arrest, there'd be 0 deaths. Like, literally, if they walked up to the car, put your hands behind your back, and they just put their hands behind their back, got handcuffed, they'd be put in a squad car, and they would go back. That's not what happens. Every single one of these things, you got somebody struggling, trying to keep from being handcuffed, and then it turns into something else, and let me just say this. Your odds of being hurt and dying go up dramatically as soon as you resist arrest. I mean, it goes up 100-fold as soon as you resist arrest. That's when tasers get brought out. Those can have an effect on somebody. That's when, a mistake can be made and they grab the wrong weapon, like that lady recently. And if you don't believe she did that accidentally, you're an idiot. Things start happening when you resist arrest. Quit resisting arrest. Parents, teach your kids not to resist arrest, and they will 1,000 times more likely to survive than it currently is right now. Yeah, you understand it though, right, Dwight? Awesome. Yeah. So don't you agree with that, Dwight, that it's the resisting arrest part that creates the problem? And it's weird how people don't seem to get that part. It's like, no, keep resisting. If you talk to a lot of these liberal, like the high lefty politicians, they encourage the sort of resisting and fighting and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, come on, you guys. Jesus, listen, we need law and order, for God's sakes. And law and order means if a police pulls you over and they ask for ID, hand them the ID. If for some reason there's something suspicious and you have to get out of the car and they say put your hands behind your back, your first move isn't to try to jump back into your vehicle, reaching into a glove compartment or something. Okay? Because we saw what happened to that other officer just recently where he pulled over somebody, he saw a weapon, and he walks around. The guy pulls out a hardcore assault rifle and just absolutely executes the officer. I think it was in New Mexico, if I remember right. Yeah, you gotta. That's a horrible. Well, you're telling the truth there, John Reynolds. That's exactly what he is. Yeah, that's exactly what he is. So here's the thing, everybody. Everybody just needs to quit resisting arrest. Is there anybody that disagrees with that many less lives would be in jeopardy if you just didn't resist arrest? Is there anybody out there? Because every one of these ones that I see, it's always that. It's every single one has a component of resisting arrest. And how about this? Don't commit crimes prior to that, so that when they call in, oh, he's got a warrant. Yeah, it's just so many things. But here's the thing: is there's an attitude out there to hate cops by specific people have been brought up to hate cops. So they have a really disrespect for them. So when they get arrested, they're going to have this attitude. And then, because of the attitude, there is something might happen in a small number of the cases where they end up being shot. And here's what I would do. I would do this. Make all police officers in the cities, and I mean, maybe make them minorities as well. Because that way, when a shooting does happen, which is inevitable given the behavior that they are confronted with, at least it won't be a racial component to it, which is just the red meat of the media. Oh my God, we can't wait for it to be a white cop shooting a black person. We cannot wait. We're going to cover that. Oh, wait, the cop was black. Forget it. Man, they'll rush to the scene. Officer involved shooting. Officer involved shooting. They'll get in those cars and they'll zip out to the scene. Oh, the officer was black. Okay, forget it. We're out of here. And that's the truth. Isn't that sad? Hey, thanks, Zozo, with the money eyes. Oh, yeah, they might do that angle, too, yeah. Right. But it just doesn't, it's not quite as, doesn't have the same cachet, though. It needs to be a white officer where you can sort of try to figure out if there's a racial angle to the shooting and just, oh, here we go again. And that's the part I can't stand. Can't stand it. Yeah, you didn't have many resisting arrests. What happened during the ones you did have, Dwight? When you had somebody resist arrest, didn't it sort of make the adrenaline pump a little bit more? And, you know, things start getting slightly out of control a little bit? No, that's awesome, Dwight. See, I actually think it's more like what you're saying, except CNN, MSNBC, and those types. They'll play all of those, the little incidents. There's literally not that many incidents out of the thousands and thousands and thousands of arrests made. But you'll see those few and go, wow, we need police reform everywhere. Now, everybody's for, I think everybody's out there. If we could find an effective, non-lethal action that really works well every single time and quickly, I think everybody would be for that. Like, I'd be for having darts that have propofol in it and just shoot them, boom, they're out. They are out in 1 second, man. They are just, you know, just bam. But have a waiver, like if something happened with the propofol shot, maybe they hit their head or something. That's the chance you took by being a criminal. Okay, but at least there isn't a bullet hitting them. Because officers are taught to shoot center mass every single time. Just like the girl the other day when she was going to stab the girl in pink with a knife. And, you know, the officer was a freaking hero. Saved the girl's life. And, you know, boom, 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 boom. I mean, in mid-swing, she's taken out of action. Oh, yeah, but that's after you've got him on the ground. Wouldn't it be cool to shoot him with a dart early? And then they just pass out. Anyways, hey, thank you for your service, Dwight. Appreciate it. From a spit bag? I don't know what that is.
Well, Gray, let me tell you, I did more in 1 hour than Gray Hughes did in 400 hours of video. I mean, that Gray Hughes guy, he...
Yeah, okay. Hey, Harvey, I know that you're always talking about the money thing on here. We've donated $35,500 since last January 2020. Okay? Now, you might say,
well, gosh, Gray, I mean, you get some too.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, Harvey. everybody on my channel knows that when they're sending in donations, that it's supporting my channel and charities. And they actually, I think it turns out where more money is raised for charity because they also want to support my channel all the time. And that's the difference, Harvey. See? And let me know when you donate 1/10 of that in the next 10 years. Okay, thank you. Oh, yeah? Okay. Never heard of a spit mask.
Gray.
It's okay. I don't really care. I don't even care if it's the real Greeno over there. Yeah, we literally, you guys support my channel because I do basically 3-hour shows every night. We actually try to get real, factual information on the show, like the whole show tonight with Dennis on. That was crazy. I mean, you got to admit, like, we together, I mean, he's been down there and everything, and we've been covering it for a long time. And we have, that case is just nailed in. Who's doing that, Mary Poppins? But that should not be used to intimidate others for views like he's doing. How does who's intimidating who for views? I don't get it. Yeah, so the cool part about this channel for the people that are here is that regardless, I could literally stare at the screen for 3 hours a night. And we're still making a huge difference. Because this year, we're probably going to be able to donate, if we keep doing what we're doing, $30,000. And I think 15 of that's going to be going to the DNA Fund, which will give names back to hopefully at least 3 people or so. And then we are donating another $15,000 to actual charities like NCMEC, Texas EquiSearch, and those are just great organizations that do a lot of good and do good. So literally, if I just stared at the screen, but that's not what I'm doing because I'm actually trying to put information out to work through cases, maybe, try to get a hold of somebody, try to help family members out on different cases. A lot of times, you guys don't even know a lot of it. Like sometimes I'll just be talking to family members on some of these cold cases, like the Freeman case, the Pizza Hut. I've talked to the brother and the mother a couple times, and it's just that story pisses me off. That one should have an arrest. No, it's okay. See, I don't really care that Greeno's on there. Greeno is got the credibility of nothing. I know that law enforcement absolutely thinks he's a joke. Okay? So, because of that, then I've been told that by people in law enforcement that are there. Okay? They've literally said that. He is an effing idiot is an actual quote. Okay? So, once you know that, and you know that how they think of him, it doesn't give him more cred like, ooh, he's edgy. No, it means that they think he's a freaking idiot. That he can't think himself out of a shoebox. All right? He takes everybody else's work, claims it as his own, and incorporates it into, and he lives there, so he's able to go around and film the same spots that everybody else has already figured out and pretend that he came up with it. Let's see. Oh, yeah? To add to your media CNN comment, I worked a violent city Pulled my weapon several times, never shot anyone in 30 years. Yeah, there you go, see? Yeah, and there was never a reason to, right? Dwight, like the person didn't charge you with a knife or something. It's rare when an officer has to shoot somebody. You know, and when I say rare, I mean, you know, you see them all the time because the media puts them out there. But in terms of the number of arrests made and the times officers pull a trigger, it's probably 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000. It's not even nowhere near. Yeah, that's just a YouTuber, Sean. He's all the rage with the Delphi community. Wow, I can tell you care so much. Oh, wow. You know, he probably studies what it looks like to care. And then he'll look in the mirror and try to get that look on his face. And then he'll get on the show. I had tears running down my eyes when I, you know. And if you cut the commercial break, he's chuckling. And it's just, you know. Yeah, kill zone. That's what him and Harvey do the same thing. They call the kill zone, it's like a half mile. If I was ever going to use that term, which I never would, it would be right where they were killed, not the entire freaking park. I'm not sure what you're talking about, this account. That didn't make any sense. Got to rewrite that whole sentence. What did Candy want to know? Yeah, we covered that a few days ago. It's in a, you have to be a channel member to see the live. I wasn't going to do a live show with the dad out there prowling around. Anyways, I think I'm about done, you guys. Oh. What do you mean I'm evil? What are you talking about? Jesus. Oh, yeah. That's what he does that all the time. Harvey always cuts down law enforcement. And if they just had him on their squad, you know, with the animated Elephant Man faces, the pork chop thing that you slide on somebody's face, the now new eyeball one, boy, if they just had those tools at the ready, boy, this case would have been solved so long ago, because they could have just put everybody's face into a computer, you know, using digital DNA, everybody, digital DNA, and then slide the pork chop over the face, and then, boy, we'd have an answer. I can't see 12 cut, but that 12 cut guy is a total embarrassment. I mean, he's just a real lackey. Could never be a moderator on a high quality channel. You know, I'll tell you that right now. Yeah, that person's blocked in here. Make sure you block that person if they're in here again, because I can't see it. Digital DNA, Gray. I'll tell you what, if I put 1,000, one of my hours is worth 400 of Gray's. Oh, boy. Yeah, the good old pork chop. What he should do is put that on Peter Brady. Then he could say, pork chops and applesauce. See? I'm just telling you guys. I'm just telling you. So we'll do our regular show this week and do the call-in on Sunday. And we'll see what we can get out there. Okay? Until those guys start really putting out informative information, I'm going to keep saying the same thing. Okay? When there's no grift, when honesty... See, Greeno's never really come out and been honest about what he's done and who he's screwed over many times. He never says it. And that's the part that, it's hard to stop talking about something when they never admit to the things that they've done. Okay? It's always a grift. What angle can I use? That kind of thing. Hey, boo-woo. Tell the guy come to tell the chef I want a filet mignon.
Hey, Yogi.
Oh, yeah. He pays it every single month there. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm telling you, law enforcement doesn't respect him at all. They don't work with him at all. He says he works with law enforcement and he gets his videos approved. Man, it's such a ludicrous joke for somebody to say something like that. It's not true. Nothing factual about it. All right. Never thought it was fun. And apples. Are you talking about the Brady Bunch, Dan? Yeah. All right. Anyways, I got to get out. Thank you guys for supporting the channel earlier. Not one of our better nights. You know what's weird is I notice that sometimes when we have the best shows, it's like the least super chats for some reason. Not really sure what that is, but like when Colleen's on, and even though that's when we should be, focusing in on trying to get the DNA, help the channel out and the DNA fund. So this is, Sandra did a PayPal. Thank you. And then also Aria, thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. Now I gotta go over to this other section. One of these days we'll figure it out. I'll tell you what, that gray guy feeded 1 hour. It's shameful. All right, so thank you to Shih Tzu Mom, Kit Kat, Alicia Powers, Sherlock Hemlock, Truth Sleuth, Believe Angel, Linda Howell, Holly, Lee D, Sarita, Claudia Dubauer, Kathleen, Friedenmaker, Scott Holland, Tracy, whose birthday it was, Claudia Neubauer, Sean Beecham, Believe Angel, Nay Folk, Allie Cake, Scott Holland, Believe Angel, Holly, Allie Cake again, Jennifer Rochelle, Linda Howell. Jennifer came up with my hanging out on the beach. Linda Howell, Miss Marple, Karen Price, DMDJ, Tracy again, Carolina Girl, Susanna MacGillipadrig, Slim Dog, Jessica Schubach, Sherlock Hemlock, Scott Holland, Kentucky Churt Guy, Sean Beecham, Dan Carr, Zozo, Linda Howell, Sean Beecham, and Zozo. So there you go. So thank you guys very much. Make sure that you wash your hands still. Keep doing that crap. But the thing is, if you've been fully vaccinated, you could probably lick the handle that a COVID... No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I would just keep washing your hands, that kind of stuff. But if you're outside, don't wear your mask. If you go in a grocery store, if you feel like wearing one, do it, but you don't have to if you've been fully vaccinated. And thank you, Dennis, for hanging out tonight. Good stuff.
The legend, Dennis Stewart, the once suspect.
Just kidding. A person of interest. All right, anyway. Thank you guys for showing up, and we will see you guys tomorrow. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there. Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now. And during this whole time, I have not seen one person that is a crime dissector, click rejector. I'm a certified human lie detector. Gonna get ya on a stretcher if you try and play me like an old projector. Crime sector is my nectar. The authentic is gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak
Reconnector, and I'm always gonna be a pop protector, fool deflector, interceptor, enemy of the spagger with a vector.
On his pector, with all respect, y'all. Just remember, I've a temple fucking check ya. I have no agenda, I'm a pretender, and I'll serve it to you straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender. Yeah, so I'll just get right back to work. All right, everybody? Talk to you later.
Hey, Gray boy, that was a really interesting show. I mean, that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. I mean, the time when the guy went to the...
Oh my God, Mary Lou. Are you just going to keep rambling on?
Gee, John boy, God, you're so mean.
That didn't sound very good. Can you make that a little bit better next time?
Well, what do you mean it didn't sound good?
You see right there, you don't really have you don't sound like you're sad. There's no residual sadness.
What do you mean residual sadness? What a... Whoa, that's getting a little too technical. Okay. Gosh, John, why you're so mean.
Hey, that was pretty good.
Hey, thank you.
Oh, boy. Alright. Let me get this, Probably going to do this for like 2 minutes.
Okay, everybody. Gray's gonna get the hell out of here.
Okay, yeah, okay, great. So, we're going to get out of here a little earlier than normal, not the 10-minute countdown. So, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Alright? Be safe out there.
Hello, you're still here? Oh, okay, good night, Gray.
Good night, Mary Lou. Jesus. You're like a stalker.
What do you mean?
Oh boy, never mind. Be safe out there.